There you go.
And it's very sad and disturbing to see as well in many ways. I spent time in both these communities and they're lovely people. You get to see it. OC spray has been deployed.
Go away.
Don't touch the mic. You're meant to speak. You're meant to be speaking truth to power. Are you here just to take your marching orders? Is that what you're here for?
Do you want to go away?
Not really. I'm here to do what you should be doing.
Yeah? Please take this out of my mouth. I'm going to have you escorted off for security.
All right. Do that. Prime Minister, are you worried to take questions because you saw what happened to Jacinta Allen? Are you scared of answering the tough questions? Yesterday was the first time you didn't conflate anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. Is that because you recognise that a lot of the hate is from the Muslim community?
Who come and approach? Who come and approach?
Mate,
I'm gonna fucking get you.
You're gonna what?
I'm gonna fucking get you.
What are you gonna do?
Leave.
What are you gonna do?
Leave.
What are you gonna do?
Leave.
What are you gonna
Leave.
do?
Hey, don't touch it. You came my way. You fuck off. You understand? You came my way.
Stay out of the camera. Why
not? Can I show you? You want me to show you?
Right, one of the main interests of the debate, the Israeli police always make sure that only Muslims go. Jews and Christians are not allowed to go through here. They're limited where infidels...
No Jews beyond these steps, pretty much.
No.
The only way Jews are allowed on nowadays, it's fairly new.
One place. You were arrested once upon a time because the police would say you're upsetting the Muslims and they'd get too angry, then there'd be violence, there'd be war.
I don't know, but this guy's going to get punched out.
I just got threatened by the head of news and programming of CNBC. Are you serious?
That's him there.
Why do you think you deserve so much power? Hey, Avi, Mini. Should I be scared now? Don't push me, bro. What? What are you getting violent for, man? I could push just like you can, man. Look at these thugs. They fund wars around the world and then you question them. They try not only to intimidate you, but physically assault you.
And these are the activists that lost control of the situation today. This is Antifa, the socialists, the Marxists.
Pro-Palestinian supporters are coming to the Jewish community and instigating what can only be termed as a violent demonstration.
But you're at a synagogue. Why did you come to a synagogue if it's not about Jews?
You find Palestine war criminals in there.
How would you feel if Jews went to a mosque?
Shame on you. Shame on you for conflating the two.
Why are you talking about anti-Semitism when you're not Jewish?
Because I've been impacted by anti-Semitism.
Are you a Jew?
No, people think I am, and I've been called a fucking Jew and had someone threatened to kick my ass because they thought I was Jewish, so it's impacted me as well. We are not anti-Semitic.
Are you listening to yourself?
Yes.
Jacinta, we understand it's easier to run away, but what would you say to the Jewish community for them to believe that you could keep them safe since you failed them for a year and a half? Look at that. Look at, what are you doing? Why are you blocking my way, mate? Jacinta, why are you running away from the tough question? Why are you running away? Like a coward. No Jew can believe you're going to keep him safe. You came for a photo op. Does it look like how you expected it to look? Is it bigger, smaller?
It's smaller?
Yeah.
Man, I don't need that.
You're not going to wear it?
Nah.
Wow. How are you going to do your photo at the wall? You have to wear one at the wall.
You have to?
Yeah.
All right.
You're going to look weird. People are going to look at you. We just need to get that photo.
All right, let's go pay our respects.
Can you tell us why you're still wearing a mask? Is that for COVID or to like protect your identity? Touch my... Look at her. So she's the victim now. She's the victim. Look at the victim. When have I ever been caught with Nazis?
To go up there when Posey Parker was here. I saw you with my own eyes.
With Nazis?
Yes, with Nazis.
Me?
Yes, Michael Coulston and all his mates.
You know I wasn't there on that day.
You were there, I saw you, I was there myself.
You're also somebody that can't define what a woman is. I'm not sure we'll take your witness testimony as the strongest here, but...
Here's the thing, it shouldn't matter what my definition of a woman is.
To women it
shouldn't be
matters.
up to one person to define to others what they should do, yeah?
Biology should, though. Are you not ashamed of what you've done in the last couple of years? If any other product in the world doesn't work as promised, you get a refund. Should you not refund to countries that laid out billions for your vaccine?
The Lord is my shepherd.
Come from this side.
I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still water. He restores my soul and leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely, goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen.
Are you going to apologise for getting everything wrong, from mask mandates to vaccine mandates? Dr. Tedros, this is your chance to apologise to the world for your role during COVID. Would you like to take it?
Oh,
What? But
and you too, Rukshan.
why are you picking on Rukshan? He's a person of colour. He's a protected species.
These are not real journalists. These are cooked podcasters.
This is not a real... It's a cooked...
Older people like you guys, you can't grasp the idea.
Excuse me, I'm quite young.
All right, buddy.
I identify as 19.
Why is it harmful that people want to, identify as another gender? How does that harm you?
How does it harm you that I want to identify as 19?
It doesn't harm me.
Okay, so then why don't you accept it?
I didn't say I didn't accept it.
Do you accept that I'm 19?
If you want to say that, it doesn't f***ing matter. It doesn't affect me.
Will you take back your statement where you said that I was an old man?
What?
I am home. I am home. I am home. I am home. I'm with my people here. I'm with my Australians. What do you want to do, man? I'm home. I'm home. I'm Australian. I'm home. I'm Australian. One of us, Rukshan. I'm Australian. One of us. Look at you guys. Look at you guys. I'm Australian. Cowards.
Why is the Prime Minister such a coward? Does he pay you to protect his cowardice? They say regaining trust is the theme this year. Are you part of the reason why they've lost trust in the WEF and everybody finally knows who you are and what you stand for? Thank you, Dr. Tedros, for showing us how transparent you and the World Economic Forum. Many of the arguments that are made against Israel can be made about Australia. Do you agree? Are you on stolen land?
Oh, we are on stolen land, undoubtedly.
And did we colonise?
We did, undoubtedly.
So now, if an Aboriginal terrorist group committed the same atrocities, would you agree?
No, which one? I better stop, Avi.
If you refuse to move on, you'll be committing an offence. You'll get arrested for that offence.
Right, what's the offence?
Okay. Failure to move on.
Right, under which act?
Under which act?
Yeah.
Mate.
He was already arrested. He was already arrested.
Was that you? All right, mate. You're under arrest. Failure to move on.
Snitches get stitches. James, just so you know, that arrest is more real than the genocide. Do you guys cause trouble or not?
Sometimes.
Sometimes what kind of trouble?
Breaking in there.
Really? Is that fun?
No.
Do you get in trouble for it?
Yeah.
They're throwing rocks at us. Yeah, all good.
All good.
So there we are. Early on, they're throwing rocks at us already. These are kids out late. Police are barely doing anything. Why do you need a negotiation? Can't Hamas just release the hostages?
Hamas said yes. When Hamas said yes to the negotiation, Netanyahu said no. Hamas said yes.
Do you believe Hamas?
Of course I believe Hamas.
Do you believe Hamas?
I believe Hamas more than I believe Netanyahu. Yes, you can quote me. I believe Hamas more than I believe my Prime Minister. Yes, no doubt.
That is wild. All right, guys. I just think it's amazing, though, that you're in Tel Aviv and you're able to do that, and that's what I love about Welcome back to the Opposition podcast. How are you doing, Rukshan?
I'm doing good, mate. How are you doing? Back after a little break, public holiday last week, and I think we decided to take the rest of the week off.
When
You're slacking off.
When you say we, I'm very suspicious about.
I have the text message exchange, and unlike the messages that Candace Owens shows, it's not doctored.
That was
I don't know about that. I don't want to get into that. Let's not get into that.
That was a nice reference, though. Well done. Well played.
But no, good to be back on the Opposition podcast. I think I'm seeing a lot of the comments. People are excited that we're back.
I'm excited to be back. So welcome everyone to the Opposition podcast. And as usual, make sure to smash that like button, help the algorithm to encourage others to join us. And I think I'm on the screen twice for some odd reason. I think I love myself that much.
You got to fix that up.
Sorry about that, guys. I just like putting my face everywhere. Anyways, some housekeeping. The comments below us that are scrolling are from our YouTube channel, so you can get involved in those conversations that just scroll freely below us. Below me is on my YouTube channel. The one below Rukshan is on his YouTube channel. And as usual, we're going to read every single super chat, so thank you in advance for your super chats. You are the ones that make this possible by helping contribute to our show. So we'll start with Anthony Madison says, Trump's fault. I think he does that every single week.
Every show. Good to see him. And he's hit the nail on the head because typical leftist mantra is everything is Trump's fault. And yeah, I think he makes a great statement each time he says that because I just laugh remembering how they blame Trump for almost everything.
So you can also get involved in those super chats by going to our YouTubes and throwing us a super chat, and we will read it just like Peter has done, where Peter says, Avi, just saw your latest YouTube video. Great video. Peter, I'm assuming if you're actually, because a lot of times people say to me, I'm watching your latest video, and they mean like 3 videos back because it's the latest video they noticed, but I'm assuming you mean my latest video, which was specifically dropped today because of the special day that today actually is on our calendar, where it's, of course, Remembrance Day. And I want to take a second to remember those who fought, bled, and, many paid the ultimate sacrifice. I think it's over 100,000 in total Australian diggers have died for... And that's not counting those that have returned with the scars, but that have died or bled, that have suffered, families that have suffered for us to be able to enjoy the freedoms that we have today. And so today we dropped a video that was really promoting this new film, which is Bravery and Betrayal. And if you just Google Bravery and Betrayal, you'll be able to see, you'll be able to find the details. Today it's gone live on most streaming or a bunch of streaming platforms. I'm not going to say most because I think it's just a bunch of the streaming platforms. So make sure to check that out. And I think it's important. It's an important story, Rukshan, that needs to be told because we saw that... we've seen that for years now where, our veterans who literally ran towards the terror, ran towards the enemy to defend us. And some wars, even if you can't justify the specific war, you always stand behind those that fought for us. Because they put their lives on the line.
Yeah.
And many did pay the ultimate sacrifice. But these were people that are, that were willing to do what needs to be done and that would be willing again to do it, even if the war itself was, led by the leaders and the arguments behind them were false on a false pretense. But the problem that happened through these years, it happened through almost every war, but in the recent Afghanistan and Iraq wars, they got back and instead of being celebrated or sometimes being celebrated for a very short time and then immediately witch hunts, usually led by political figures and mainstream media, mainstream media journalists, witch hunts to demonize them as war criminals, as child killers, all the same sort of rhetoric we're hearing now towards Israeli veterans. But this is not an old thing. This has happened for so many years, and I think this story needs to be told, because the effect that has on the heroes that went to serve and that did come back scarred, they suffered another injury. And many, if you look at the statistics of soldiers, Australian soldiers that take their own lives, it would play a massive part in it. And we owe these guys everything, but at least our absolute support when they return.
I mean, I just want to echo your thoughts. And obviously, it is a day to remember, and especially if you consider the service that a lot of the men have done and women throughout the generations, a lot of young people as well in the prime of their lives that never got to enjoy life like that we do, the freedoms that we have and the protections that we have and the sacrifices that which have been made for it. So it's very important that these days, Armistice Day or Remembrance Day, as we say in Australia, is recognised, and I hope so going into the future as well, because there is this tendency, like you've highlighted, Avi, that we have these armchair experts now sitting at home and looking at wars and not really understanding what these men and women have gone through when they're in the battlefield. And especially in a theatre of war like the Middle East, I remember one of our early podcasts we spoke to Heath and Russell regarding this issue. And just to hear,
he was a commando as well.
Just to hear that, in that moment, to make those differentiations between who is a combatant and who is a terrorist. Sometimes, we can't understand that by being these armchair experts, and then after the fact, the media and a lot of the times, even some government people and left-wing individuals as well, sometimes going after these people and calling them, all manner of names. And at the end of the day, they are providing the security blanket that protects our nation and our country. Whatever you think of the particular war or the theater thing that they're involved in, they have no choice. They're told to go there. They do that, and they do the best that they can to protect themselves, their country, and their mates as they're fighting these wars. So I think it's important.
And make no mistake, even the wars that may not have been really justified, or at least the reasons we were given were proven to be false, like, in Iraq, where it was the weapons of mass destruction, or whatever it was. You got to remember, like, they were also fighting evil. It wasn't like the other. It wasn't like Al Qaeda were the good guys, or it was, our diggers. They went and they charged through in battle to confront evil head on. What most of these keyboard warriors would not have the guts to do. And we need to recognize that.
Yeah, no, definitely I agree. So I take everything that I hear, or the criticisms of our military from these theaters of war, with a grain of salt. I don't just jump into it and go after these individuals for doing what they've had to do in those battlefields, and to judge them so harshly. Especially because we've seen often, again, going back to Heston and Russell, like with the ABC where they doctored that footage.
Yes,
added the gunshots in. I mean, it's just crazy, like, that our media is involved in this type of deception and manipulation against our armed forces. And again, this is not to say that there should be no accountability and, this is like a free reign type thing. No, this is not about that. It's about being respectful and understanding what, the current trend of going after military personnel. What that does to morale.
And I'll be honest, unfortunately, it's not only people who haven't served nowadays. It's because it is a trend. It's an influencer trend. Firstly, I'll start off by saying I offered this person a discussion, a debate. I'm not the best debater in the world, but I'm quite confident about my position on these issues, and specifically this story. But people that should know better, people that have served and have watched as their comrades came back and were smeared with the same exact smears. There is, what's his name? You know what? It's sad to see it happen, because I can see that the influencer, what's the word I'm looking for? The temptation to just play into the new online audience when you get a little bit of fame seems to have gotten to this guy's head because, a couple of months ago, we were crediting him for doing good work, for actually being sensible, for actually calling out Nazis at one point. Because of their just blind anti-Jewish, anti-Indian, anti-everyone. But it seems like he himself, and he has served, and respect for serving, it doesn't take away somebody's great service, the fact that later they are looking for internet clout. But when I saw this video, I was shocked that it came from this specific person. Let's watch the video and then we'll go into it. And I did offer the person to debate it. He at first agreed, and then he seems to have backtracked. Mind you, he did reach out to me privately, so maybe he does want to organise it. He was saying that he wanted to do it with somebody that we mutually know, and I agreed, the guy that we mutually know from my recent conversations with him is leaning towards his side of the debate. I had no problem with that, but he lost me at the fact that he didn't want us to be able to stream it anywhere but this other person's channel. And I'm like, I want my whole audience to see the debate. If I'm going to put the effort into debating, there's a number of reasons why I would want it on my channel, but one of them is that I just want my audience to fully see me unpack the lies of this thing. And now, he's probably not going to agree to actually doing it at the end. That's what I suspect. So let's watch it and unpack it now here.
Days, footage has surfaced from a detention camp in Israel. Palestinian detainees have been violently mistreated by the IDF. A bunch of soldiers have been charged, and the IDF's top legal officer just got sacked for releasing the footage. Now, Bibi Netanyahu has just come out and...
So I just want to unpack the lies from the beginning, which is laughable lies. He starts off by saying this footage has just emerged or has just been released in the last couple of days. It wasn't. It's old footage. Anybody that's been paying attention to this conflict knows this footage from a year ago. It was leaked a year ago, and what actually only happened in the last few days is it turned out that this...
they found who the leaker was.
Well, yeah, and the leaker was the person... So it was two clips put together to present a specific story, and it was the chief...
the person responsible for it, the chief military.
Yeah, the chief military lawyer who was going after these people, but then, so it was her putting out clips to the Israeli left-wing media. It was to the left, and what's so similar here is this is the kind of games that you'd see happen here. Someone leaking it to ABC to demonize the soldiers, but it was already debunked because you can see it's two separate clips from two separate days. The reason why they're holding the batons up in the second clip is because they were throwing things. It was just to protect the people behind it. It wasn't to cover what was going on because it was actually completely different scenarios. So it had completely been debunked already, and it was old. And she only released it for her personal gain. Oh, and the craziest part is, she was in charge of the internal investigation to find the leak, and it was.
I think I think, from my understanding, that was a problem because she lied about that as well. And
she lied about that, of course,
and that's why. So, yeah.
Said this is a PR disaster for Israel and the IDF. A PR disaster, you say? And then this reaction, well, this really tops it off. Ministers are calling the accused IDF soldiers heroes. Right? Crowds are even flooding the street defending these rapists. Who do these people think they are?
And there you go. So, firstly, what do you call that? That theatrical outrage, completely fake. He's putting it on, and this, firstly, that's the exact. So there was no rape. No one's marching in defense of rapists. They've not been convicted of anything. Those allegations were baseless. In fact, the one person that they are claiming, the allegation that got raped, but the terrorist that's now, in his initial thing, he never claimed to be raped. It was a left-wing organisation that made these allegations, and then he jumped on board with it. The point is, these people no one in Israel thinks they're rapists. No one is marching in defense of rapists. They're marching in defense of national heroes, just like we do here in Australia, where they're going, hold on, these guys, Israel's still going through a war, and Israelis are upset that they're painting national heroes as rapists and as criminals for doing their job with doctored footage. That's the real story.
Honestly, who do they think they are? Do these people think they're above the law? Do they think they're above decency? Do they think they sit above everyone else? Because the last time I checked, rape and torture, that was a bad thing, right? Not to be celebrated like badges of honor. And this is where it hits home for me. I've been to war. I've been to Afghanistan. The Taliban got a 13-year-old strapped in with 15 kilos worth of explosives and blew one of our US partner patrols sky high. Right, I've witnessed kids get weaponized, but does that mean that Australian soldiers can do the same thing? No. Who do these people think they are? Raping people? When you wear a uniform of democracy, well, you hold yourself to a higher standard. Oh yeah, and here comes the excuses. But October 7th, and yep, I get that, Hamas committed horrific crimes. But those crimes don't give the IDF a free pass. Right, and I keep seeing the same accounts post daily about pro-Israel stuff. Why do they do that? Well, maybe ask yourself this. Bibi Netanyahu, well, he just increased his social media budget by times 20. These people have to be paid influence.
Anyways, so the first part, the funniest answer to that is this guy who never talked about Israel at all. Suddenly, every second video of his became about Israel. And Israel doesn't pay a cent. To me, that is the craziest conspiracy.
Well,
the Jews
from all
are
of
throwing
that,
money.
What I take away from
spending
all of
a
that
lot
is
more.
I've seen this story like over the past year, and I've seen like Suleiman and whatever on X talking about this ages ago. So I've seen the progression of this story, and even then he was like a bit fishy, right? Because they're just like, you can't, as a person that's watching from the outside, you can't see what's going on there. It's all just assumptions. It's all just assumptions, and there's no evidence. There's nothing's happened where it's been definitively shown that this has happened. So yeah, you are basically just spreading propaganda from one side about what they allege has happened, without any verifiable information whatsoever in this particular instance. Now, is that to say that, IDF or Australian soldiers or American soldiers, famously, of course, haven't been involved in dubious situations during, in theaters of war? No. But there's this obsession with pointing out, who are these people? Who do these people think they are? The idea, you know what I mean? Like,
and the funny thing is,
it's like all the militaries, and it's the same thing, like you said, Avi, at the start. It's what they say about the Australian military sometimes. Like, who do these people think they are? Like,
and the funny thing is, so these guys got charged from that woman. They were all charged, for these alleged crimes. And who do you think is putting up the charges? It's the Israeli army, the same army you're condemning. How many people has the Australian army charged with war crimes? I think there's one guy currently on war crime charges right now. I think that's it, right? There's been a lot of allegations in Australia, baseless allegations. People have been cleared. There have been investigations, just like there are in Israel. But these guys are actually charged, and they have to fight to clear their name. Now, let that play out. What you're seeing in the videos is nothing like what they're saying it is. And secondly, it's two clips put together that has now been proven. They've been debunked from being the same as two completely separate times that they were filmed. But to me, it's sad to see someone like that who uses his military service instead of standing up to defend other military personnel from being demonized in the same way that Australians are and have been every single war, and people that he would have served with have also been demonized when they actually, put their lives on the line to defend our freedom, just like he did if he went to Afghanistan, just like he did. And again, credit, thank you for your service, even if you're completely like. I think, to me, I'm watching this. I'm like, I know you know better, and I know you know what's happened here, and I know you know that lefties have used this exact same tactic against your brothers and sisters that fought alongside you in Afghanistan. And how do you look in the mirror and then make up a story unless it's for clout? Like, you don't really believe it. There's no way you're not that stupid, so you don't. You've been there, you've seen it, and that weird story of saying I've seen a 13-year-old strapped, they strapped a bomb to him to use him as a, which is a shocking thing. How are you comparing that to a weird footage which doesn't show anything, which is
I think he was. I was thinking. I think what he meant was, even though those things happen.
Oh, those things happen.
It doesn't give the right for the military.
And it doesn't.
To
and he's
inflict. Yeah, of
and
course.
You're right.
He's right. He's right in all those things that he says.
And the thing is, if they raped even the terrorist, they should be held accountable. And almost all of Israel would agree with that. The thing here that people disagree with, and I know because I watch Israeli TV, is that they're disputing the story. And there are so many holes in the story that, and that video you're showing, like you said, is not evidence of anything. But somebody like this who has served and seen, doctored footage used before, like against Heston Russell, which was the example you gave before, where, ABC threw in some sound effects to make it look like he was committing war crimes. This is the same thing. This was fed to a far left-wing media outlet that was so excited to see it, to share it, to demonize. And when you say that, the implication that he makes, that Bibi Netanyahu said this was a shocking PR thing for Israel, of course it was. Whether it's true or not, it makes Israel look incredibly bad. But imagine it's not true, which there is no evidence of it being true right now.
Yep.
And this went out because this one person was trying to save her own personal career, so she had to put something.
That in itself, Avi, that in itself, that she did that you said, like there's certain criminal charges or things that people in Israel bring against the IDF, and there's left-wing organizations and left-wing newspapers that want to reveal these things. That shatters a lot of the propaganda that we hear about Israel. Like, people talk about Israel like it's a monolithic group of people who are all working together to commit this so-called genocide, and everyone's in on it. But what you can see is within the country itself, like it's a democracy. There's left-wing people, there's traitorous people within the government, there's people leaking stuff to the media, and there's all manner of nonsense going on, just like we see in Australia or in the United States of America. So in that sense, it kills all that nonsense propaganda that we hear. And the fact that to then conflate that with people who are arguing against this must be getting paid $7,000 per post. That's the ultimate conflation, because it's so dishonest, because you can't argue against anything because you're just a paid propagandist.
And I just find it hilarious, him specifically.
So that's what you want to debate him on? I'm just kind of learning about all this
I said to him, let's debate on Israel-Palestine, because he's suddenly, he's also saying accounts that every second day post about Israel and Palestine. It's like, bro, in defense of Israel. Bro, that's what you've been doing lately, because you've realized there's a market now as well. It was a really weird timeline to see. This one guy, there's a couple of them. There's that Big Chocky, but Big Chocky, whatever, he's this buffhead that has no real idea about much. He does really short clips. They both they kind of do these short clips where they're driving a point. Most of the points that they're making is good, but he's not what would Chocky know about the Middle East? Like him giving his 2 cents on that issue is just like, okay, cool. He kind of comes into every video trying to solicit the most controversial. He says it. He signs off, and if you don't like,
he's critical. He's critical of everything. I've seen have it.
He goes F off if you are the most controversial. No, but I feel like he goes into each video wanting it to be as controversial as possible. That's kind of his brand. Cool, good on him. I don't really care. This is somebody that has served. And from what I don't know about his service exactly, I think he may have told me, because I did speak to him. The funny thing is, when the Nazis, when that whole Nazi thing came out, he called me and we had a decent chat, and he was kind of worried about the Nazis doxing him and whatever. And I was like, no, don't worry. It's, I was trying to make him feel better. They're not gonna, you don't have to worry about these clowns. Whatever, just protect yourself. Just have, this is when you become a public figure in this space, you've got to ensure that you do certain layers of protection. to make sure that you are not an easy target for a lot of people. Like as you grow, more and more people are going to dislike him. But then he went from that, and that was all from him and Chocky at the time criticizing these Nazis, to like a few weeks later, kind of spewing the exact same rhetoric as those groups that they were condemning, and obsessively. Like you have somebody that's obsessively now doing videos about Israel's and Israel lobbies. He asked me if we're gonna if we can debate the Australian Israel lobby, whatever the. The funny thing is, I probably agree with him on like most of it. I think he's picking that specific. Like if I go do the research on it, I promise you I'll find that there's like 100 lobbies that are way more powerful, and probably a few Qatari ones, or Arab ones that are way more powerful, especially in Australia. It's like if you think an Australian Israel
it's
lobby,
Chinese lobbies which are powerful here.
yeah, that's true. If you think the Australian Israel lobby is powerful in Australia, you're delusional. Like, look at the last few years. What have the Israelis gotten from the Australian government? Literally, the Australian government here has turned against Israel. So here there's not even the argument of like the APAC in America. You don't even have those things. Like you have to fall back on the American situation to be able to justify those stances, because here it just doesn't exist. And here, like the Jews, who controls the media? It's like, there are no Jews in the media. Like you've got all those arguments don't actually work. They fall apart here. Anyways, I did agree to debate him. I'm not the best debater. I'm happy to debate. I'm happy to have a
I would like to see the debate. I think it'd be a good debate.
Do you know what? I need to do more debates and learn how to just let the other person talk and then just debunk their wild conspiracies and just mock a little bit, but let them have their time. Like when they say you're being paid, when they pivot to these laughable points that you're being paid by Israel, when you're the one that shifted you. Like we've been consistent the whole time. You're somebody that overnight shifted. And if we're really honest about who pays anything, the Qatari government pays a lot more than a Jewish government is paying anyone to do anything.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I'd love to see that debate, because Sam, I liked it when he actually did go after the Nazis. And when they went after the Nazis, because I thought, especially coming from him as a veteran.
Chocky, I never tried. Chocky, I always thought was like a bit of I felt like he was just stirring it for clicks and clout. Like I've always felt that about him from the beginning, and that people have approached me to try connecting with Tommy Robinson back early when he was funny. He wanted the Zionists then. Now he's all anti-Zionist. But I got that vibe from him already. Just by the name that he tries to call himself, the controversial coach. He just wants to be controversial for the sake of being controversial, just to blow up on the internet. This guy was a disappointment to me. It was a disappointment to see someone that I looked at and go, oh, he's rational, he's sensible, he's served, he stands and will fight for Australia, not just in words, not just online, not just on, not a keyboard warrior, an actual warrior. And then you see, like, he was digressing, and then he turned into this. I was like, mate, why don't we debate it? Why don't we talk about it? And I'm happy. I said to him, I'm happy to do it in any format, anywhere you want to do your show, much, whatever. The only condition I have is that, like, you can even have your moderator, which that guy is his moderator. I'm like, I don't care, right? I'm going to really work hard on myself to listen and then break down every argument. And hopefully the moderator can help with that. But the only condition is that we can share it everywhere. Why would you not? He said for the integrity of the debate. I'm like, what? How does that change the debate? It doesn't actually change anything on the debate.
Live stream the debate.
Everywhere.
Live, unedited.
Wouldn't you want, yeah, but they're saying like live stream it only on this guy's platform. It's like, why would I do that? So that I think it's like so he can make money on his thing by doing it. It's like,
well, there's no need to make money on it. I think it's an interesting debate to have, because like what people will say, Avi, is I'm going to put the other hat on now. People will say that, of course, you're pro-Jewish, you're pro-Israel.
Sure.
You defend the IDF. You've served in the IDF in the past.
Yes.
So you come with this bias,
absolutely.
Right? Whereas Sam, he's an Australian veteran. He sees it from like the Australian that perspective of serving in the Australian military.
I can't wait to hear his thoughts on the Australian
that's
war
why
crimes.
I would say. That's why I'd say this would be an interesting debate, because and would be great if Sam took it up because
I hope he does
because I think they are Sam and Chalky. I see them online and they're actually cutting across to a lot of a different audience of people that even we don't cut across to, like the everyday people, like in a different way. I'm saying
TikTok and Instagram. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a whole different segment, a whole different crowd. But they kind of have a bit of for conservatives, they do really well in those platforms. So it'd be good to have that, and then have you, who has this kind of more. You've been in this for a longer time in terms of understanding that particular views, and I know what you mentioned before that their views changed seemingly overnight.
Yeah,
so it'd be interesting to see like what pushed that change in their views, especially bringing up all this more so conspiratorial things about the Jewish lobby in Australia. Like that's again more like the NSA.
The funny thing is, he wants to debate that. I don't really care about the Jewish lobby in Australia. I think that's like just it's a red herring. It's not a real thing. Like they just use it's an easy thing because in the online world, it's become this boogeyman that they can just say, but there's nothing really backing it. And like I said, I don't really lobby. I think lobbies, all lobbies are a problem. But
I'm waiting for them to contact me. I want my money.
Yeah, the money thing's funny to me, and specifically, like the only reason why I commented and go to him, let's debate this, and we can debate the broader thing. Let's debate this because I want to hear your position. Like, yeah, of course I'm biased. Of course I'm defending Israel. I actually enjoy existing. I will defend my mum's right to exist. And that's what I'm actually defending here when I'm defending Israel's. My mother lives there. I'm going to because if you get it your way, my mum is going to get killed. My cousins, my sisters, my nephews, my nieces, a big chunk of my family is going to get murdered if you get what you want. It's their existence that I'm fighting for, right? But these arguments that he's making is exactly what they make about Australians here. So I'm biased for Israel, but I'm also biased for Australia. I make the same, I'm actually consistent when it comes to defending Australians, Australian diggers, Australian heroes, Israel, the Australian way of life, freedom and democracy, the fight against extremism and Islamic extremism or any extremism. Like, it's consistent across the board. My question is, how do people like this, who I don't know, I highly suspect if I put those same accusations that have been made against Heston Russell to him, or all these other soldiers that served with him in Afghanistan, if I put those, he's going to defend them and he's going to deny their guilt, and he's going to say these are just left-wing activists that are trying to demonize them because of whatever political gain. And it's like, exactly. That's what it is. And that's what's happening in this situation as well, because guess what? Just like Australia, Israel is a thriving democracy. In fact, I'd argue Israel's probably a more thriving democracy. They've had 5 or 6 elections, different changing of governments in 7 years or whatever it's been. Let's read a couple of these super chats and move on. Again, having said all that, you on a day like today, you still need to give somebody like Sam, even though I think that he's selling out here, whether it's for clicks or clout or whether Qatar's actually paying him. I don't think Qatar, to be honest, unlike these clowns, I'm not going to say Qatar's paying him. I don't think Qatar needs to pay them. I think it's just an easy way to get clicks and clout. I think that's what the game is. The long run is obviously they want to make money out of it. Every single one of their posts is about joining Patreon and selling their stuff, which is fine. Like that I've been in this gig for a while. I do it as well. A lot of these people will mock us for crowdfunding or doing, I saw one video, he was like mocking somebody for sending him an email saying they want to support him because he was saying what they liked, what he was saying about Israel, and that, he blew up going, oh, no one else has ever offered me money. And then he ends the video going, hey guys, if you support my views, can you give me some money? It's like, what world do you live in? Do you want money from supporters or not? These guys are full of contradictions. Anyways, but he credit for his service, and I want to thank him for his service. I'll thank every Australian soldier for their service.
I agree.
Let's just read a couple of these super chats before we move on. I think that, read these. Let me see what the next story is.
This is from Maddie B. Hey, good evening, guys. How are you guys just wondering, what do you think of the youth crime in Victoria and our government. I think we're going to touch on Victorian government in later on, but generally, youth crime in Victoria is obviously out of control. We all know this. We've got nonsense like machete bins. We've got politicians getting up there with ideas that address everything else except the big elephant in the room, and that's these little African gangbangers running wild, mainly, right? These African gangbangers and some Middle Eastern groups and some Asian groups, but mostly these African groups. And there is a problem that's not being addressed. A lot of these people that are doing this are young kids under the age of 16. They're getting released on bail multiple times. We've had people released on bail at least up to 60 times. We've also seen documents where the Justice Department is being encouraged not to put anyone in jail. It's literally the default position is if they're under a certain age, you just bail them out. And then they're going around and robbing grandma and granddad every night down in the streets of different streets of Melbourne, and terrorizing hardworking people who are already doing it tough. And we've seen just horrific footage come out of people's homes being smashed in at night by these thugs with knives and machetes, of course, and killings.
What do you mean? They banned the machetes. What are you talking about?
They're killing each other. They're killing other kids. These other poor African kids got murdered as they're coming home from basketball. The whole thing just messed up. Like, it's literally like a third world slum when you think about the crime that's going on. And it is the inability of people in our leadership just to say what it is. It's these African gangbangers, these little kids. The parents have lost control. The communities don't want to admit to it. They need the votes. They don't want to, piss anyone off. And they just need to be harsh and hard. And I would, I'm not for this whole deportation and all these kind of things, but the clear message needs to be sent to these communities that if you cannot integrate into these communities, your children cannot integrate, you cannot be responsible for your children, then the future in Australia for communities from that particular part of the world in the future is not there. Because it's just one thing to allow people to come to the country to be a part of the country and assimilate. It's another thing totally to import criminals that go around terrorizing the good people of Australia and especially Victoria. And that's what's happening. Literally, we're importing crime. And, it's not little white kids running around with machetes at nighttime. It's not little Indian kids or little Chinese kids mainly, right? That's not what's happening. There's a very specific thing that's going on. And that's my personal view. I think that needs to be addressed very clearly by these communities, and they need to be held accountable as well, because these community leaders have to take some responsibility, because they take funding, they take money from the government. They enjoy the privileges that comes with living in Australia, but then they also have to be a part of the community and support the community and fix these kids. It's a problem. That's my two thoughts, and the government don't want to address that in that way. They just want to lie to you. They just want to keep telling you that we'll try to strengthen the bail laws, we'll do this, we'll do that. It's too far gone, Avi. I reckon lock them up. Lock up these kids. 100%. Send them to labor camps of some sort. Military supervision. Enroll them in the military. Put them in some sort of program. Do something different. Take these kids off the street. And
stop bringing in more until you figure it out.
Yeah, that's what I reckon. It's just nonsense.
But we've talked about this so many times, and nothing's changing besides for things like machete bins. That's what we're getting. And all while that's happening, there are more and more machete attacks, or youth gang attacks, from these different groups using these now illegal machetes. It's laughable. Like, the whole world was mocking those machete bins. Let's get through these super chats so we can move on to the stories. We got Laura who says, "Hey, bro," well, I got to screen this. "Hey, brothers Rook and Avi, how are you? Crazy week and special day honouring the Defence Forces and peace." Oh, not trying to yell.
That was great. Thanks, Laura. I appreciate
Laura,
it.
I appreciate the super chat, and we're doing well. I think we're doing well. I'm getting back into it slowly. I don't need to travel until Davos, so we're good. Nothing big better happen around the world till Davos. Noah says, hasn't the anti-war protests and military hate been happening at basically every war since World War II, particularly in America and Australia and the West? Yes, that's true. It has.
Yeah, it's always been there.
And I guess that's what my frustration underneath it all was, is that this is specifically someone that knows better. And he was just playing into the same rhetoric that has been used against him and his friends since at least World War II.
Well, I mean, it was really a point of confliction during the Vietnam War. The end of the Vietnam War was really that was a major one that was the first time, I think, in a major way you had the rejection of people who served and came back to their countries being completely rejected by society during that time for whatever reason. Well, I don't want to go into that now, but and then obviously the Middle Eastern wars that we had at the start of those wars, there was a lot of support and sympathy and patriotism during that time, but it dragged on. And then what you really had was, again, from these Islamic Middle Eastern states, a lot of propaganda put out there as well. When you're in the losing side, Avi, this is the thing. When you got a force like the American Army or the Australian Army or the IDF, and you're fighting these terrorists, whether it's Hamas or ISIS or Al Qaeda, whatever it is, what do they have? All they have left is propaganda. 100%. And what they want to do, they want to tell the people in those countries, look, your army, they're horrible people, they're committing genocide, they're murdering our women and they're raping children.
Exactly.
This is who you are. We want them out of the country, and this is why. And for whatever reason, every single time they find willing participants in those countries to go along with that and to push some of these lies. Now, that's not to say that these type of war crimes have never ever happened. We've seen weird things coming out of like Abu Ghraib, the prisons, and some of the disgusting things that were going on, like beyond what is expected of people in service. We have seen that, but the general slant tends to be anti-military at a certain point in a conflict, anti-war, in a way that they're willing to denigrate the service that people do provide, by sacrificing themselves in that theater of war. And we've seen that time and time again. And the IDF, I think, is the same thing for the world. But they're the world's punching bag, Ivy. That's the thing. It's not just the terrorists going at it; it's everyone else going at them as well. And you have all these accusations of genocide and all these stuff. And at the end of the day, it's these soldiers again who are there who have to bear the brunt of it.
Yeah.
And it is what it is, sadly. But like you said, some people should maybe know better.
You know what? I don't care that Big Chocky said. Big Chocky goes on all these rants about me nowadays. It's like, I don't care.
He goes on rants about you.
Yeah, you're not somebody I respect. Like, I don't care. No, he does like posts or something. People have sent me, but like, I don't care because like I never actually took you seriously. This guy, it bothers me that you're going out and you're using the leftist tactics that has been used against you and your friend when you went to fight to defend Australia. And do you not see it? Or I don't think you're that dumb. So then you're just using it. You're joining the mob for that clicks and clout. And that makes me lose all the respect in the world for you. And I think it should be called out. And I think people should look at it and see it and apply the same arguments back at you. And will you defend it again? And that's why I
just want to also raise this point that outside of the West, the invasions of Afghanistan and Iraq, a lot of other countries see the West as the aggressor.
Yeah.
They see them as the people who are committing the crime, the war crime.
And guess what? I'm biased. Yeah. I defend Australia. I defend America. I defend the West. I stand with the West. I love the West.
I've spoken to people when I'm in Asia and stuff, and they're like, no, that was like an invasion by war criminals from America. Like, that's how they see the war in Afghanistan. That's how people see it. But because in the Western bubble, because the West is actually a part of that particular war, it's a little bit more protected and the language is a bit more careful around that because obviously they're the ones that are going in. Whereas with like that particular super chat you just brought up, Avi, I think that touches on the point we were discussing. The last one you just put.
You mean which country got more hate?
America during the Iraq War.
In 03 onwards,
or Israel right now with Gaza conflict.
For sure,
I would say
Israel.
by far Israel.
Yeah.
I have not seen anything like this, and I probably didn't pay attention to it during previous, incursions that Israel's made into different countries like Lebanon and stuff like this. I probably didn't pay attention to it back then, but right now, like whatever I've seen the IDF and Israel being put through, no other country faces that kind of scrutiny when they're conducting a military offensive or a war.
No.
And I have seen far worse acts committed by the Western powers in certain circumstances. If I'm highlighting the West specifically, when it comes to even during the Obama years, the amount of things that they bombed with drones and stuff. Now again, I'm not complaining about that in that sense. It's a part of the war. The terrorists are there. The Iraqi army's there. It's the war. I get it from that context. But they never got the heat that the IDF gets when it comes to them conducting their military operation. And when we look at the figures at the end of all of this, despite whatever anyone says, they have minimized in that urban scene that we've seen. I think they've minimized the casualties more than maybe what the Americans and the British would have done in such a scenario. Like, I know it's controversial to say these things, but that's just how I've seen the West conduct wars. It's been very different.
All right, we'll keep moving. Vic Oz 2BC says, great to see you're back. 12 months out till next year's state election. Latest polling has the Vic Liberals Nats out in front with Brad Batten as preferred premier by far over socialist leader Jacinta and Labor. Dude,
the most recent polling has the Liberal Party out front.
Really?
So, it's the most recent polling. This is from last week, I believe. So they had.
I haven't had a chance to delve deep into it. I have little faith in Victoria. But have Victorians had enough? I'm looking forward to the lead up to it and getting into covering.
You can see that Jacinta Allen is already kind of in election mode. She's sweetening the deals. Her big builds are finishing up. She wants to open up all these roads and train stations, obviously, before the election, because that's a part of the selling point. She'll have a lot of things to bribe the Victorian public with, a lot of free things.
Mamdani.
Victorians will get.
After a year, that'll be after a year of Mamdani. Maybe we can point to Mamdani and go, look, guys, they promised everything for free in New York. How's that working out for him? But yeah, look, with Mamdani, I think there's going to be a lot of disappointed people at the end of this because there's no way he can do anything he's really campaigned on, or the main things that he's campaigned on. But we'll wait and see. And if he does manage to pull off any of them, well, goodbye, New York. It was nice knowing you. I'm glad I got to visit it before it fell. Maddie from Australia says, lest we forget Avi, you do an amazing job for Oz. Thank you, Maddie. Really appreciate your support and your super chat. And yes, lest we forget, that's what we got to remember that today and be thankful. I'm really thankful to those who paid the ultimate price for our freedom. And we shouldn't forget. We mustn't forget because there are a lot of people that want us to forget and want to demonize them and want us to feel guilty about how far Australia has come, and they want to take us back. Yeah. They want to send us back to the Stone Ages. So,
and this also includes I'm getting off topic here, but even the woke right, Avi.
Yep.
These people are hating on Winston Churchill, for instance.
I know.
They're celebrating Nazism. They're talking about how the world would have maybe been better if the Germans had won. Like, these are the ridiculous types of people that we have, even in Australia, amongst our political commentators, that talk about Nazism in this way. And it's insane. It's insane. And then on the same breath, they'll turn around and be like, oh, we've got to revere the Anzacs. And they don't even understand like what people died for during that time.
They fought, bled, and died fighting that evil ideology. And I've said that to their faces. It is very wild. Like, even when we saw the Nazis on that March for Australia, whatever, and and I was saying it to them, and they never kind of respond to that because our diggers did fight them. We lost a lot fighting that evil ideology, and here they are pretending to wrapping themselves up in the same flag that those diggers died fighting for. It's bizarre. It's bizarre, and it's bizarre how many people are joining them. It's wild. We're living in a weird time. The Lost in a Dying World says we have Israel flags outside, and someone said take the F down, but they are staying up. Well, good on you. Stay safe. You're brave. I don't know where exactly you are.
Did you see them putting up the Palestinian flag in Federation Square? I mean,
they're banning Australia Day. They're banning Australia Day. The city of Melbourne, I tweeted this out. They're banning Australia Day and they're raising the Palestinian flag. They're banning
they had their
Australia Day
celebration.
because it's too divisive, but they're raising the Palestinian flag. That is the city of Melbourne. That is Victoria. That tells you everything you need to know. Okay, thank you for the super chat. Oliver says, do you think woke right will decline or will they become more popular and mainstream over time? I hope they drop off in the near future. Oh, it's a good question. You know, I don't know.
Look, I think there comes a time where they have to, the sane voices in the rooms, they're pushing back against this. You're seeing this already.
Now we're seeing that. Look,
we're seeing that more and more, and people distancing themselves and pushing back against it, and making the very concerted effort to make that difference between the freedom of association and freedom of speech. Okay, it's one thing to let these people say whatever little kooky stuff they want to say. That's they have that freedom of speech.
100%, I agree.
Broadly. But no one in these political movements, especially serious politicians, they don't have to associate themselves with this. They can rebuke it. And even the criticisms, we're seeing of people like Tucker Carlson is the fact that they're not challenging these individuals.
Exactly.
They're letting them have a platform without any type of challenging. While they challenge people on the right, like Ted Cruz, for instance, very famously, Tucker Carlson challenged him. But when he had Nick Fuentes on, it was like, I love Stalin or whatever the hell Nick Fuentes is going on about. And Tucker's like, oh, we'll come back to that later, maybe. Like, come on. Like, this is kind of what the woke rights.
No, so you're right. And seeing the backlash from that gave me hope. Watching where a lot of conservative voices that were, silent for the last 2 years as this rise on the right of this, what was a fringe right to becoming more mainstream. But suddenly, I think Nick Fuentes being platformed in the way that he was, not just for being platformed. Like, I actually have zero problems with people talking to Nick Fuentes, but it's how you engage with him. If you're not pushing back on anything he does or says that's completely wrong and non-conservative, the guy is not a conservative. He's a Stalinist Hitler lover. Like, that is not conservative values. And if you don't push back on the things that he says about JD Vance's wife, Indians, like everybody, black people, like, if you don't push back at that and you give him a platform and you amplify his message and you sanitize him and legitimize him by giving him that platform, Tucker's got a huge, but it did give me hope seeing that finally people.
We're coming up to the midterms in the US. These type of conversations effectively do have repercussions on terms of the sentiment of people who are involved in voting. And, it will, I think, come to JD Vance and Trump even to distance themselves from some of this when it comes to
JD. I don't know where JD is on this.
No, I'm being serious. Yeah. I think it'll come to a time where they'll have to either, draw a line in the sand about where they stand, because it does affect election outcomes.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you got to be realistic about, how things are looking right now. Things are looking shaky for the Republicans come the midterms. And if people don't understand what's going on, if you look at someone like Mandani, whatever, all these arguments against him saying he's this Muslim guy, he's, this left-wing extremist, he's all these things. He won that election. New York's left anyway, but he won, right? He won. So despite all these kind of groyper stuff online, Nick Fuentes talking about white pride and all this kind of nonsense that he goes on about and bashing people all the time, well, when it comes to the actual, how the country's moving, it's rejecting a lot of those ideas. And I don't think Trump ever won on, what he never won his elections on the idea of white supremacy. That's what the media said, that Trump was a Nazi. They said that Trump is Hitler. They're saying that Trump was all the things back then, what Nick Fuentes is now promoting as the ideal way for white people in America to behave. And the left is going to eventually use that come election time and say, look who's in their camp. Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson. Look at the things they're saying about, Indians and minorities and blacks. You guys going to go vote for them? They are literally making it easy for the other side. Yeah. And, I hope, the big names like Trump do come out and push back against it. And I think Trump's come out today and pushed back against Marjorie Taylor Greene and said...
I saw that. That was funny.
So, yeah.
He does. Look, I think Trump does distance himself whenever he's asked. JD Vance is the question, and also because he wants to be the next
and he would seem the most logical next president. But I think you're right. I think if he doesn't distance himself from, and I feel like there's a conflict for JD Vance. He's married to an Indian, but he also has this weird.
His kid called Vivek.
Yeah, but he's got this.
Well,
weird...
you know, I don't think Avi, like, despite all this. Sorry, I know I'm just jumping in today, but Trump endorsed Vivek Ramaswamy, a glowing endorsement for the governor of Ohio. And this is someone, Vivek Ramaswamy is someone that's been copying stuff online from these gropers and Nick Fuentes for a long time. But Trump very strongly endorsed him in Ohio.
No, I think Trump. I don't think there's a question about
Trump,
where
I'm
Trump.
just saying Trump gets it. Trump gets it.
Trump gets it. I don't think he's in on the culture war on the internet as much. Like he's not. He thinks these people are all kooky, and Trump is like Trump. Look, he's got 3 more years and then he's done. It's looking forward. It is somebody like Vance that has to choose, and I don't know where he sits just because you think like. Tucker's son works in his office. What is that relationship like? Like, and he's never really come out and condemned these people. Trump has, and Vance, whenever he seems to be confronted by it, he seems to capitulate on it. Like even when he was questioned by the Groypers recently at Turning Point, like recently in the last couple of weeks, he can't, instead of like shutting down the stupidity of the question, just like Charlie Kirk used to, he capitulated and played to the thing. And I'm thinking, damn, you're gonna lose elections on that, because I don't think majority America, like it's a bit like the left. The left lost the left to the extreme elements on the left, you know, and that's why everything became about trans issues and like the most extreme crazy shit became the left, right? And that's gonna happen to the right. If they don't pull it in now.
They're pretty much gone head first now. These extremists in the right, this woke right, into identity politics.
And then, you know,
all
the
they
funniest,
talk about is identity and grievances.
And you know the funniest part is, like, you'll have somebody like Nick Fuentes go Team Hitler, and then when somebody calls him a Nazi, now the pushback from the right is like, oh, and it's happened to me in real time as well. Like even in at Tommy's, when those literal like. They had the HH. They all wear that H. It's a brand.
Henry something.
But it's all the Nazis wear it because it's HH. So it's for their Hitler love, and and so then when I called the guy a Nazi, he's like, "Oh, I'm a Nazi, am I?" I was like, "Dude, you're a Hitler supporter." Like the fact that the left abused and weaponized the word Nazis as a smear to anyone that's not far left wing. Doesn't mean that you Nazis don't exist. Like you do exist, and the word applies to you when you're doing that. Like, and why are you so offended by being called a Nazi?
Such a cop out.
It's so funny, and I even see it in my comments.
Yeah, that's how I know. That's how I know that these guys have no real, no real ability to change anything, because they're so afraid of even who they are. Sometimes when they're called out of it, they all just cop out of it. Such losers.
But they just play that game because, you know, for years everyone was called a Nazi, and they go, "Oh, you're Nazi! You've got to fall back straight away on the smear of a Nazi." It's like, no, I'm literally just calling you what you are. It's like you shouldn't be offended by being labelled. Be proud if you support Hitler. Be proud about who you are. Like, don't cry about it. Julian Campbell says, "Been missing you too and having withdrawals. Great to see you again. Keep up the great work. You both love hearts." And I think she's just being kind to you. It's really just about me. Thank you, Julian. Harry says... Harry? What did you say? Harry says, in the Tucker Carlson Nick Fuentes podcast, Nick Fuentes actually said he likes Stalin. Tucker said, "We will get back to that," and proceeds to never get back to it. Typical Tucker Carlson. It's we don't have to relitigate this.
Yeah.
The point is, when it was Ted Cruz, the question was so stern, hard, push him into the corner. Go, how many people are there in Iran?
And that wasn't a big deal. But I think if you're an interviewer and you come across someone as a American conservative political commentator, and they say to you, "I love Stalin," I think that should raise at least curiosity to be like, okay, why? And some, bit of pushback against
and challenge it.
challenge
and
give a
challenge it. If
to
you're a
that.
conservative, challenge. Like the thing is, I don't think Tucker Carlson is a real conservative. And like he played conservative for a bit. If you look at his political
Yeah, he's
career,
at CNN. Yeah.
he started on the left, ended back on the left. Like he'd gone all around. The only thing is, on the way, he picked up all these people that are weirdly willing to defend every. Like, who was it just now? He also himself endorsed some South American communist dictator.
But Maduro.
Yeah, like how is that a conservative position? How it's what? Yes. Next comment. Paul Murray says, please come up with a list of social media people who are worth balanced listening to, not an echo chamber. Okay, there are a bunch of people that I actually listen to at the moment, to be fair, that I watch. I like watching the debates. I do enjoy watching debates. There's a few. I don't even know their bloody names, though. There's a few I've been watching lately.
Look, Dinesh has been really good. Dinesh,
he's been great.
I think Dinesh, and he's someone that doesn't back down in the sense of people calling him out, because obviously he's got an Indian heritage, but he's been in the Reagan administration, I believe, and he's been in jail for his beliefs, for his political convictions, because Obama put him in jail, and he's made multiple documentaries about whether it's the Clintons, election fraud. And Trump is also a major supporter of Dinesh D'Souza. So he's got a lot of people backing him in that sense. And I think he really does make poignant arguments and statements which drive home certain points about what's happening right now in American culture.
Yeah,
I think he's a good one to watch, and not just his own talk show, but when he appears on other people's shows and answers questions. There's an interesting interview with him and Konstantin Kisin. They're doing some podcasts, so that's been interesting.
Constantine has actually been decent lately.
Constantine,
you can. He's got Dave Smith on tonight. That'll be an interesting one. I want to see if he actually pushes back. I'm just looking at my history, because there's somebody that I'm thinking that. What's that black guy? He the one that destroyed Dave Smith recently in the most classy way. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Can we just link him up?
Here. Coleman Hughes. Coleman Hughes. That's who it was, wasn't it?
Okay.
Coleman Hughes, he's worth looking at. Who else is there that have been... But there's also people that
I think also Ben Shapiro. I think he's been doing a good job.
I think Ben Shapiro's been.
I think Ben Shapiro, not outside of his show, going and talking to, whether it's the Megyn Kelly interview that he did recently, the podcast, or whatever, the live show.
The live show you're
seeing Shapiro. You're seeing a side of him that you haven't seen before. He's a bit more animated in his language as well, and he's kind of putting it out there. Yeah, he has been. Yeah.
No.
So I think I think he's kind of meeting the moment, because the other side is become, the woke right has become so extreme in their language. I think he's just calling it as it is, like bullshit.
And I think he's just drawing a line, and it's probably a line that people wanted to see I would have wanted to see from Ben Shapiro a year ago. But I totally get it. The problem with being Jewish and in this space in the last 2 years is that, like you said before, any defense of Israel is met with immediate, oh, well, you're just biased. And I don't even know how that isn't a counter argument. It's argue the points, not the person, not the messenger, not the man here, because I am biased. I never claim, and that's the thing, I never claim not to be biased. I am biased for freedom, Western democracy, our shared values, our shared morals. So I am biased for Australia, for Israel, for America, for Britain. That doesn't mean you can't. That doesn't mean I can't criticize Australian government, Israeli government policy, American. That's all fair game. But of course, I'm biased to defend it. I love the West, and but Ben's been hit with that, and it's hard when there is as soon as you post anything, and there's just a bot army, and you've experienced this as well in recent times. There's a bot army that just hits your comments, and try to detract from your point, your argument, your video, like everything, just because they're like, well, of course you'd say that. You're a Jew. Or of course
the one that I got was, well, you've been to Israel, so you can't have a legitimate opinion anymore. I mean, it's just that's one of the most ridiculous points in the world, because you have people who are armchair experts on Israel who've never been there and seen it for themselves, making all sorts of kooky claims about apartheid and stuff. And then apparently, if you go there and see it for yourself and then report on it, then it's like, oh well, you've been paid to go there. So these people aren't thinking straight. If that's how you're thinking, guys, change your way of thinking, because you at least want people who have been there.
Guys, chuck in the chat for Paul any other good names that was it Paul? It was Paul Murray, wasn't it? Chuck in the chat anyone else you'd recommend to check
Topher
out.
and Carls. There you go. Topher
and Carls. Who wrote that?
We should ban them.
Absolute rubbish. Abby says Rukshan sounds cute tonight with his blocked little nose.
I am, Abby. I am actually recovering. That's why I haven't. If you're wondering why I haven't been doing my shows, I've been sick actually. So haven't been feeling great. I'm just getting back.
He's got the China virus.
Yeah, I'm just about to take the 5th or 6th booster for the latest variant.
Sunny Proverbs Moses. Oh, I just gave us a super chat. Thank you, Sunny.
Proverbs,
Appreciate the support. Ted says, God bless you, Rukshan, Avi, and all Aussie patriots in the chat. Thank you, Ted, and appreciate your support and love and your super chat. Sonny has come back with a comment. Avi, would you possibly organise Tommy Robinson and Dominique, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his surname, I know who you're talking about, in the near future to come to Australia and show our politicians to grow some balls? Listen, I'll tell you this trick. Tommy Robinson is never going to get a visa, certainly not under our current administration here in Australia. So he is going to be talking at the rally coming up on is it the 29th? I think it is.
I think so, yeah.
The 29th. But that is going to be via video link or pre-record, whatever it is. And Dominic, that's actually not a bad idea. I could probably see if he would be willing to come here. He's the Polish.
I think Tommy would only get in here by invitation of the government. So there you go. It's pretty hard for anyone else to bring him down.
Yep. Hold on, it just reminded me to check with security everything. Anyways, let's keep going. Thank you for the super chat. So, and I think that's the guy that Tommy's at the moment in Poland with, which there's going to be a massive rally today. So watch that space. The Poles do it well. Maddie B from Australia says, what do you guys think about the under 16 ban? We're getting back to that in a minute. So once we finish these, we're going to unpack a bit of that. Ethan says, Avi, Rook, if you had to pick one who is the most redeemable in the woke right, if you had to pick one and why, and who is the worst one and why? Okay, so woke right. So when you say the most redeemable, like as in
maybe
they
I think
come
someone
back.
that can maybe I wouldn't say Megan Kelly's fully in the woke right, but she's making a lot of excuses for it. She could come back.
Yes. I think the worst is Tucker for me, because he's the most dangerous.
I would say probably Candace is possibly the worst.
See, Candace doesn't bother me because everybody knows she's nuts now.
Yeah, that's possibly true, but I'm saying in terms of the things that she's saying and putting out there into the public, I think it's doing a lot of damage to a lot of relationships and a lot of people, and overall the American conservative movement. At least I think she's ruining a lot of relationships between people. I don't know why she's doing that, but she definitely is.
The whole Charlie Kirk thing is wild.
Vendetta against individuals, and she's just maximizing the damage that she can do during this time.
Ted says, thanks for the super chat. Nutters will not accept our Oz culture and want to replace it with Islam, lest we forget our diggers and lest we forget those who want to change it. So we'll take that as a comment that I tend to agree with. Dylan McDonald, thank you for the super chat. Says Avi is the Aussie Ben Shapiro. Changed my mind. Look, I'm nothing. The only thing that I have,
mate, Dylan, I think you've had a bit too many drinks today.
I wish my brain worked as quick and my vocabulary was as big as Ben Shapiro. The only thing we have in common, I think, is the Jew. But I appreciate. I'll take it. I'll take it. I like Ben. So
was Dylan racially profiling you then?
I think so. Laura says, if you're elected, DNA testing should be mandatory, no entry if positive.
Ooh, I'm just trying to think what we could have done wrong. Like who's done what?
I'm very confused, but thank you for the super chat. I don't know.
Thank you, Laura.
The Lost Dying World says we are from Australia. Yes, another client. I'll take that as another statement. Okay, thank you for all the super chats. Okay, making news today. Let's get straight into this one. All right, let's watch actually a story from 2 weeks ago, and then we'll watch the update today, because I think that the story from 2 weeks ago gives you the context.
Hiding behind scarves and masks, police are still hunting dozens of protesters who pelted them with rocks last Sunday. Tipping one top cop over the edge, but not so for the Premier, today rejecting a push by the opposition to immediately ban face coverings at protests, despite promising similar legislation almost a year ago.
Well, time is really ticking. The same Labor government that could lock a whole state down in a matter of hours has not been able to introduce a bill to protect police.
The Coalition has proposed a bill to make wearing a face covering punishable by up to 3 months in jail, with exceptions for religious reasons. A tricky area to police, which the government admits is one of the reasons for the delay.
For example, if you wanted to wear a mask to protect your health, but also to protect their identity because they are a victim of family violence.
The bill also includes a protest permit system, but today the opposition offered to separate the two proposals in a bid to push through the mask ban.
If you're turning up to cause trouble, you're covering your face because you're a gutless coward, I think it's time to expose those individuals.
The government insists the Coalition's bill is contrary to the advice of Victoria Police. It's repeatedly said it'll introduce its own legislation before the end of the year.
It's not just face masks that are an issue here.
Beth Yeoman said.
Okay, so that was 2 weeks ago. Now the government is introducing, that's happened today. I think it's going before Parliament, from what I understand. Let's take a look. We'll look at the update today, right? This is the news making. Oh gosh. All right, here we go.
Media conference to outline changes to protest laws. Our state political reporter Heidi Murphy is at Treasury Place tonight. Heidi, the legislation doesn't go as far as promised.
Yeah, Alicia, nowhere near as far as what the Premier had been repeatedly promising since December of last year, which was to be a full ban on face coverings or masks at protests. Instead, what's gone through Cabinet this afternoon and will be introduced into Parliament tomorrow is a power that police will be given to ask protesters to remove their masks if they believe a crime has been or is likely to be committed by that particular...
You gotta love that person that did that. Pulled his. Was that the Nazis? Were those the Nazis? I can never tell the difference. The Antifa and the.
I think so. Yeah, they're fighting each other, right? Are they? No, I can't.
No. Let's just see this one. You got to give credit to this legend, whoever's doing this, like pulling the mask back. Oh gosh, why is this not working? Oh my god! All right, my thing's not working, so we'll just have to watch.
Person, there'd be fines of up to be committed by that particular
person.
Was that the
Nazis?
There'd be fines of up to 1,000. A power that police will be given to ask protesters to remove their masks if they believe a crime has been or is likely to be committed by that particular person. There'd be fines of up to $1,000 for refusing to comply with the request. There'll also be added protections in the new legislation for religious worshippers, and there'll be a prohibition on the public displays of flags or terror symbols. The police union is already pretty sceptical around whether whether these changes will actually have a significant impact on their response to protesters, saying if it amounts to police having to ask protesters nicely about their reason for having a face covering, it should be renamed the Pretty Please Bill. The Premier says she has had to settle for something that is workable and will get through the Parliament.
What I'm focused on is the outcome, and the outcome here is putting into the Parliament legislation that can be enacted, legislation that can be enforced, and legislation that builds on the existing powers we have already given to Victoria Police.
Now, the hope is that this legislation gets through the Parliament by the end of December so it can take effect in March of next year. And Alicia or Tom, I can tell you also Cabinet has signed off this afternoon on some further changes to youth justice. We expect to get the details of that tomorrow or Thursday.
Well, there's the answer to youth justice. We'll touch base on that on Thursday night. But what an absolute scam.
Yeah. I mean, it's all a scam. I'm just remembering like the way they were so forceful about making people wear masks during a certain time period. I don't want to go back to, but now they've decided. Look, it's a complicated area. Like I get the need for people to be anonymous as well against when you're protesting against government tyranny. I get it.
Yes,
you want to have a degree of anonymity. I understand that balance that you have to be made, but I think Melbourne is a different case. I just think
these guys are coming masked up. They've been doing it now for years. They're coming masked up from both sides. You're neo-Nazis and to commit violence, and we know we've been on the receiving end of it. It becomes impossible to track down the person because they run into a crowd. They're masked. You've got the video. Police are never going to do anything in the moment because they don't want to rile up the crowd. So, yeah, like why not? Like. If do you know what? If you're going to violent protests, show your face. Or don't go. Like, if you can't put your name to it, don't go. Protest online.
Yeah.
Like
what will these leftists say when the police ask them? They'll say, "Oh, they're sick. That's why they're wearing a face covering." The face
right, and my problem with this,
they have COVID.
They'll say COVID.
They'll say it's religious. I can't take it off.
I already said that from them.
They're gonna say that, especially like they're just gonna be like it's religious. I can't take it off. No, you can't force me. And they're probably gonna end up in lawsuits as well for like forcing people down. Like it's just like
the funny thing is these governments that pass dumb hate speech laws that do absolutely nothing are going to be used and abused against the wrong people. Are the same government that can't figure out how to unmask violent criminals that come to the streets every week to punch on with police and the opposition or anyone that they perceive the opposition. Like,
yeah, I think a balance could have been struck if there was a clause in there. If the police, you know how they do like an exclusion zone sometimes.
Yeah, designate an area.
Designated. If you come into a designated area and it's because the police believe there's going to be a violent confrontation that day, and sometimes we know ahead of time that's going to happen. In the designated area, no masks. And that should be like easy enough to do something like this. So, because there are peaceful protests and things that people do where it's just one group protesting and they might not want to show their faces. Fine, I get that. But these groups both coming masked up to fight each other and then members of the public getting injured in that process or public property being destroyed and we can't hold them accountable. The police can't do anything. Like no one can do anything. And we're just all hostage to these individual groups, whether it's on the left or the right. It's just become a joke now. Add that the crime that's happening in the city of Melbourne and these crazy protests. Yeah, I think people are sick of it, and I don't know, if this solution is going to go down well with the public when they see more of this.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of masked losers.
Neo-Nazis on Parliament's doorstep, an image designed to strike fear into the Jewish community. But when Eastern Suburbs MP Kelly Sloan spoke out on social media,
I will not be bullied out of saying what I think.
Extremists turned on her.
Some of those messages were worthy of passing on to police because they were particularly intimidating, particularly violent.
Federal Independent Allegra Spender also copped foul abuse and threats for calling the neo-Nazis out.
We live in an incredibly open, welcoming society, and this sort of extremist abuse really has no place here.
Police are still reviewing recordings of Saturday's rally to see whether it fell foul of new hate speech laws.
Their speeches, the banners that they displayed, the way they presented themselves physically and in combination of the words they used.
But the Premier's considering expanding existing legislation that bans Nazi symbols so it covers more extremist activity.
Can it also accommodate Nazi speech, Nazi behaviours on Sydney streets? And secondly, to clarify and codify, a Form 1 application doesn't give you a free pass when it comes to hate speech laws in the state.
Police say when they received the Form 1, which is the notice of intention to protest, they did seek legal advice about the potential of blocking it, but they were told there was no reasonable prospect of them winning in court. The Speaker, Greg Piper, says he found out about the rally on Friday and was told the location couldn't be changed. But police didn't take their dilemma to the Commissioner or the Premier.
It is a stuff-up. The Premier, the Police Minister and the Police Commissioner need to explain who stuffed up.
The government says lessons will need to be learned to prevent rallies like this from returning. Nick Dole, ABC News, Sydney.
It's all just...
It's a complicated one, man. Like it's not. I don't think there's an exact, straightforward answer to that. Is my mic coming through properly, or is it being funny?
It started to.
Is it crackling?
A little bit.
I wonder why that is. Did I do something?
It's all right. It's not
all
bad.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. No, because it obviously, like, we've had all manner of extremists protesting in Sydney in front of buildings. This particular group, yes, they dress in a provocative way and they have a extremist view on certain things. But as far as I know, they applied for the permit, they filled in the paperwork, they said exactly what they were going to do, and they turned up and rallied and protested.
And
whatever.
like, you know what? Like, I just think that these guys are giving the government exactly what they want. That's why I feel like it's too convenient. Like they deny being feds. Well, maybe they're not feds, but they're doing damn good work for the feds.
Well, every time they've done something like this, what's happened? The end result has been more laws being passed,
more laws,
and
both sides jump on board.
And then they blame the Jewish lobbies for passing these laws, but the governments use the presence of the Nazis as the reason to pass the laws. So, like, I feel like these guys are actually having more impact on changing the laws here. In our states, whether it's in Victoria or New South Wales or Australia, they're actually pushing the laws forward and putting the government in these positions to change it. Because again, like I brought this up online, Avi, and I was saying that because they're talking about banning them from forming a political organization called White Australia, maybe, and changing something with the Electoral Commission to address that. And I was like, we have, like, Jacinta, what's her name, Lydia Thorpe. She's looking at some sort of black sovereignty movement. So should that become illegal now? I don't like these Nazis. I don't like these white supremacists. I don't like the NSN. I think they're just douchebags and just losers overall. But I think we are entering into a pretty grey, mysterious area that could be turned against the rest of the populace as well.
100%. Honestly,
that's a problem. It's a problem.
I feel like people have the right to free speech, and even like even that one was like, what they wrote was abolish. What is happening to you? You're freaking out on me, man. No,
I'm gonna come back.
Oh, there you go. You're gonna cut out and come back.
Yeah.
This is the Indian technology. Well, we've lost Rukshan. Rukshan's mic is dodgy, yeah. It's bloody Rukshan, mate. Laura says, Avi and Rook, Super Chat doesn't permit certain words, so I had to keep editing. Just tried to elaborate. Surely you boys can work it out. I have hope. Let me see where you tried to elaborate. Put it in the comments. I'll see if I can read it. You've lost me. Listen, maybe I'm too dumb. I don't know. Maybe I'm too stupid. Let's see. Rukshan's back. Let's see.
See you on my back?
He's back.
I think I pulled some cord.
All right. Anyways, yeah. So what I was going to say, like something that I've said for many years now, is that free speech means people have the right to even say offensive things. That's in fact, when you're fighting for free speech, it's got to be for the people that you don't like what they're saying.
Yeah.
There are clear boundaries in that where incitement to violence, threats to kill, defamation, those all are limitations on your freedom of speech. What was their sign this time? It was
something about the Jewish lobbies.
Jewish
lobbies, something? Ban Jewish.
Whatever it was. Like, I just don't like when... And that's the problem here, is that these guys, again, the only people that are going to win here from what those guys are doing, trust me, the Jewish lobby ain't going anywhere. While there are any lobbies, Australian Jews are going to have representation. And if you don't like it, well, too bad. And if you're only focusing on that one lobby and you don't care about the Chinese, the Qatari, or the whatever other lobbies, the million of other lobbies that are spending a lot more money and wield, like you said before, the Chinese one, that wields a lot more power than any Jewish lobby in Australia.
And no other lobbies are going to be banned as well. Like Australia has lobbies in America, in Israel, maybe in other countries. They have Australian lobbies.
Yeah,
so it's a system of Western politics.
So all these guys managed to achieve is new legislation that the government is using. It's opportunistic governments are jumping aboard, and Labor knows that Liberal Party is going to support them because they want to seem like they're friends of the Jewish community, even though I think half this legislation is dumb and will be used against the Jewish community anyways. I just think unless somebody breaches actual incitement to violence, just ignore them. Like, the only reason why these guys get so much attention is because everybody keeps, every time they do a little stupid stunt outside Parliament, watch it. Like, they do the same thing over and over again. They get dressed in their little uniforms, which, I'm not a homophobe, looks kind of gay, that they're all dressed like that, like, cool, good on you. But they go on about how they hate gay people so much, but there they are looking all matching clothing. And they go to, outside Parliament with their sign that says a provocative message. Now, if their message says something that is an incitement to violence, then, like, abolish Jewish lobbies.
Saying, we've seen far worse from some of the pro-Palestinian movement. That's the thing. So when the government speaks now, it's so hollow because we've seen them carrying ISIS flags. We've seen them holding all sorts of abhorrent signs against groups, in minority groups,
and that's why none of those legislations are never going to be used. Like,
and that's why the Nazis, that's why this NSN group gets a free pass as well, because it's like everyone sees how ridiculous all of this is, and they exploit that. They play on that. They pull at that. They pull at these little gray areas in society, and they want to be a part of the conversation. They want people to be talking about them, because ultimately the goal for the NSN, which we'll probably touch on later, is to recruit. Is to grow their base, is to get other losers.
Well, speaking of all this, a funny, I guess, what do we call this? Update to the whole March for Australia saga is one of the I believe organisers,
Queensland organisers, who was defending the whole shtick, and all these people denying that the Nazis were involved in their little organising of the rallies. Well, he's come up with this statement. He goes, "You all ready? Today we begin. The MFA leadership have hated on me since I wouldn't platform the NSN, which is the National Socialist Network, the Nazis. Every suggestion we put up the chain for website updates, participant registration, media coverage, etc., we got shut down. Queensland offered security and staging in every single state to keep NSN out. And this was rejected by Hugo. Hugo's that red pill guy, yeah? Ozpill? Ozpill.
Yeah, he's doing videos with American Nazis now, like straight up Nazis. I'm not just using it as a slur. He's doing it with full on self-professed Nazis. George, Jesse, and Beck. Beck, we also know, has a lot of fondness for Nazis because no donors allowed. Yet I was the donor. The MFA leadership are working with NSN to register a White Australia party. It's that simple. We got messages wanting us kicked out after August 31. Told they were replacing us. We weren't Nazi enough. We tried to be nice about this, but dickheads are still pushing the sellout angle to stir shit and discredit Queensland. MFA leadership want the NSN to be Australia's political solution. It's that simple. I'm not saying don't go to an MFA event. You all should be demanding honest answers from Beck and Co. They've lied through their teeth. They know it right now. I'm reading it out. They are seething. We've held fire and let them cook. Stand by for the comeback. And anyone saying, shut up for the sake of the cause, get help. Nazis got no place in Queensland. And if you're leaning into white supremacy, get a head check. Your government hates you. The NSN is the symptom of a structural defect created by the most divisive and effed up bunch of commie globalist scum politicians Australia's ever seen. Fix the blob, fix your country. Queensland leads the way. You can commence your program. 2 minutes of hate now. Australia first until you die. That's hilarious.
I mean, look, that's pretty funny. And again, like, this was so obvious, Avi, even from the first march, the second march. Like, it was so, like, we were talking about this, so many people were talking about this. It was so obvious of the NSN's involvement in this. And you know why it was obvious? Because the NSN were proudly proclaiming on all their platforms that they were doing this.
Yeah.
They bought their bloody, like, lectern thing to Melbourne and did the rally from the stage. Like, they were the ones who were doing that in Melbourne, at least. And it was denied, obviously, by a lot of these people. And you know what I think it is, Avi? It's this kind of NSN Nazi movement in Australia, this white supremacist movement. It's their own version of this, like, Takaya or Takeya. How do you say that? The Islamic...
Oh, Takia. Yeah.
Takia. It's like that. It's like Takia, right? It's like that, where they will deceive people. They will lie to people to try to achieve their aims. And they want mass numbers of people to come to these protests. So they don't care, like, if you're brown and stuff, if you come along just to beef up the numbers, but they deep down, they hate you.
Yeah.
And deep down, their intent is to recruit people.
And look, when we went to, at least in Melbourne, when we went to the rally, we saw 99% of the people there were not subscribed.
They're good people.
To that
They're
crap.
not that. They're not that. That's the point that we made. But the organizers, which has been
100%.
very obvious for people paying attention from the very start, were involved in.
That's
this
why I
type
go
of
to guys
deception.
on the 29th or whatever it is this weekend, in a couple of weeks. That is, those are the good people. I think that's Monica and Nick Patterson and those group that are absolutely anti-Nazi and pro-Australia, which are really the same thing, to be honest. Dylan,
31st of August. No, when is it?
Oh, is it?
Sorry. No, I'm just trying to figure out what it is.
I thought it was
Maybe
the 29th.
30th of November. 29th of November. Okay, we'll have to have a look.
Do you think anyone else in the woke right is getting some financial benefit from Qatar other than Tucker? I think Tucker possibly is, but anyone else? So Tucker, I've seen something. I don't know if it's real or not. There does seem to be some paper trail of some sort of funding that's through. So I wouldn't be surprised if Tucker does get some. But I think, I've said this a few times, I think the majority of people, you don't necessarily online need to be getting direct payment from Qatar to do this. Although I'm sure there are some people that are getting direct payment from Qatar, and Qatar is, of course, doing it. That's what they've been, they've got the money, they've got the resources, and they've got the willingness to do it. But I think a lot of people, a lot of influencers are just attracted to the idea. People go into this for clicks and clout. Like, it attracts people looking for attention. I'm not immune from that. I also am an attention seeker, but I also do have principles and agree and believe in certain things. So, like, I will do what I can to get attention, but I will not sell out my moral compass, my beliefs, what I stand for. There are a lot of people that I feel in the last couple of years haven't been that strong on their conviction and have been taken by the temptations and jumped on it. And I think with new people, like a lot of these people that we're talking about in this episode, they're really new to this game. They haven't been through the cycles of different issues over the years. Like in 2016, 17, it was like anti-Islamic when there was all the ISIS stuff going on. Then it became, and then 2020, it was like all COVID. Then it was, then it was Ukraine, Russia. Then it was Israel. So, like, and different people, You know, there's people that become, in COVID was a great example of it, people that became really popular in COVID on this one issue. 2019 was also Hong Kong and China. Like there was different periods, and then people become known for one thing, and then some people learn to pivot and do, you know, they're generally commentating on a lot of things. Some people are just one issue focused. These people that are jumping on now, they're jumping in on a time where it's become super popular on the internet, at least, to spew a certain narrative, which may be hard to come back from. Hopefully, if the normal level-headed right actually does end up winning this whatever civil war that's happening, which I hope they will, they have to, then a lot of these people that mark their space in the Candace Owens corner are going to be kind of stuck back on the fringes.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that as well, because it is very, there is a temptation that's there.
Oh, it's easy
online now.
It's so easy.
This is the thing, Avi, right? So that the new generation of legacy media is dying.
Yeah.
The new generation of media that people are consuming is online. Podcasting is a major growing platform type of media, and there is, Candace was celebrating that she's become the #1 podcaster, for instance, right? Very recently, like it's a big thing. And we're talking about people who are now outdoing people in mainstream media. So those same things that we used to worry about when it came to mainstream media, about why this particular presenter is presenting these narratives, I think it applies now to independent media, to podcasters, to alternative media.
Yeah.
Because the space has changed so much. And again, we have a thing now where anyone, like myself included, well, we can have platforms, we can have audiences, and the algorithms sometimes dictate the way that we do content, because you want to get more clicks, you get your monetized, all these things play into it. But what you say is true. Like there are still people that I see just based on their principles. Now I can say all sorts of things. I'm not Israeli, I'm not tied to these things, but I have certain views about the world. I have certain understanding of the West, and I have certain beliefs, and I can't betray those beliefs. So whether people are saying I get paid for this or not, I'm just sharing my particular beliefs, and I do lose a lot of engagement, followers. I get people angry at me. I get horrible messages from people and all this kind of nonsense. But that's just my views and my opinions. Now, some people don't want to do that, Avi. Some people just want to go along with what's popular. They want to push a certain message because it's easy, right? There's no account. Like I can say all sorts of stuff that I want to say about Israel or the IDF. I don't even have to present evidence of it. People will just be like, yeah, great. He's saying it. Like me saying it would be enough for people. They'll be like, oh my God, he's saying it.
Rukshan's woken up.
He's woken up. He's saying it, right? And and people are like, oh well, it's like during COVID, you were saying stuff as well. No, I was portraying what was happening on the street, things that I know. So I can give opinions on things that I'm observing and I'm seeing. But a lot of the stuff that people are talking about today as experts, they have no idea whatsoever. They have no clue. They're just regurgitating the talking points of people who are right at the top of this food chain, people like Tucker and Candace. And then that food chain just kind of regurgitates backwards down to the lower and lower levels. And then they say the same nonsense. Because everyone is saying it, there's like, oh, well, it's all confirmation bias. It must be true.
Yeah.
But no one's really presented evidence of anything. So it's just this thing that's happened now with alternative media podcasters is as bad as what the mainstream media became. It's actually maybe worse, because
it might be worse because there's also no there is no system that you can, at least like with mainstream media on different platforms, so you can contact the governing body or the media, radio. And different countries it works differently, but there's different media, whether it's government bodies or
well, this is what we don't want either. That's the thing, right? We don't want that either, because that's what the government kind of wants, is to be able to regulate the space more.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, to the point of what you were saying is like you have some sort of like if you see somebody lying about a certain thing in mainstream media, at least there is some sort of system, whether it works or not. Like often I've put complaints through that they ignore, but there is a system in place that sometimes forces corrections.
Yeah, I mean, the head of the BBC had to step down.
That's one of the story got in recently. Whereas with podcasts and like when you call out, when someone exposes Candace Owens for completely making something up, that she just doubles down. And the new lie, even if it makes no sense, becomes the new thing. So there is
the new lie is the person that's accusing her now is implicated in the plot as well.
It's so mad.
That's why people are afraid to touch her. Like anyone that's got any kind of platform might not want to get involved in these things are afraid to kind of talk back against Candace, because you will be on her next episode. Trust me, you will be on her next episode, and she will somehow tie you to some conspiracy to kill her. That's usually how it ends up with Candace.
I'm trying to think of the word in court. When you go to court and you're trying to get I've gone blank. There's a certain word that I'm trying to think of. Like, anyways, it doesn't really matter. Just help me articulate what I'm trying to say better. But it's all right. I know speak English very good. Abby, I should just do all my comments in my mother's Israeli accent. Abby King, they could have a grading system for protest, e.g. amount of protesters, level of traffic interference, time of day, risk to public. Then protests at a high grade can have restrictions imposed. That's my mum. Read it for you.
I know. I met your mum. I think you sound just like her there.
Yeah, I agree. They could have all those systems. Abby, good to see you in the comments, by the way. And not just glazing Rukshan. I've learnt that new word, glazing, from the kids. Equity, yeah, they said that. I think there should be a system in place now. It's just beyond a joke, Victoria. Equity says, we need an Australia lobby in Australia. Yeah, that's true.
That's true. We do need an Australia lobby. Julian Carter says, Avi, why do you think a good handful of people only seem to think Israel was behind Charlie Kirk's murder, considering he was staunchly pro-Israel? Because Candace Owens. Like, that is literally Candace Owens' main drive since he's been killed, since her best friend was murdered. I mean, they put it out, those what are they, foreign accounts that pretend to be Americans, they put it out straight away.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
The moment something happened to him, literally, I forget his name, Amiri King or whatever, a lot of those, Salamani, whatever, literally straight away. He was just like, he was just being taken into the hospital.
The guys that Israel, everyone that was hating on him for years were straight away blamed the one people that he liked. Yeah. Listen, and that should demonstrate the kind of propaganda war we're in, where something as obvious as Charlie Kirk, like, why would you believe anything else these groups of people say about the conflict in the Middle East when they lie to you so blatantly, so immediately about something that was so obviously not true? And look, and you ask yourself now, why did even that stick? Why is that even got any sort of legs? And it's all for the same reason why anything else to do with Israel sticks now, because these guys have thrown so much mud, and there's so many people throwing that mud. And again, that's not just like the new woke right. Those are the new people to the bandwagon. It's like 2 billion Muslims, or the majority of them. Then the far left, the majority of them. Now you have the addition to the right, and they all sit around going, you see, we don't agree on anything, but we all agree on this, so let's all agree on this together. Like that, they use that as like part of their argument now, that somehow means that they're right, where all that proves is the horseshoe theory. Anyways, Julian Campbell says, my grandfather was one of 800 light horse that freed Beersheba. It totally breaks my heart, all this crap about the ADF. Yeah, totally. And I've got the tattoo of, that's the Battle of Beersheba on my forearm. And
there you go. Even the, I was going to say, the colours of my high school in Dandenong were based on the colours of the Light Horse Brigade.
Yeah,
so one of our first principals, or the person that built it, was from that as well.
Well, Julian, today must be a special day with a grandfather like that. And I hope, I don't know if you've been to Israel, but you should go visit the memorial there in Beersheba. Did we get to do? No, we didn't get to do that.
We didn't get to do that, no.
I've been there a few times. It's cool. Maybe when we go next year, you can, instead of going to kiss the walls straight away, you can go.
We are going again, aren't we?
We are. We better start crowdfunding that one because we still haven't paid off the last one. Henry says, I think it's weird how Andrew Tate says UK is losing its identity, yet he moves to Romania and converts to Islam and shits on Christianity, right? Do you know what's funny about Andrew Tate? Is like, lately he's gone back to being anti-Islamic, and all the
who was
Muslims
calling
are
him out,
turning on
though?
him. Yeah, everyone is.
Sneeko was calling him out. That was pretty funny.
Everyone is now. All the Muslims, like, because
For being a fake Muslim.
bro, Andrew Tate was the fakest Muslim from the beginning. The fact that any of these people bought into it was laughable, and jokes on them because we were mocking them from the beginning. And Andrew Tate is now going to be an apostate. Like he's literally walking back the whole. He did a whole tweet the other day that went off, where he's mocking the fact that, like he was saying, when I was in America, everyone had these kinds of names. When I moved to England, everyone had these kind, and it was like listing names. And he goes, the funny thing is now everyone's Muhammad.
I saw that.
And
someone was
it's like such all the Muslims were like, oh, this is such a Tommy Robinson tweet. And that's the thing, that's what I was telling people the whole time. Andrew Tate has always, if you look at Andrew Tate's views from the beginning, he's been really anti-Islamic. And then when he was at his lowest point, he was desperate for, support. And he found this niche where he was living in, I think, the UAE at the time, and he converted to Islam. It's like, dude, the guy doesn't know anything about it. Tommy Robinson, who grew up with him and they were mates, was challenging him to a debate, and he was ducking and weaving from that debate because he knew he'd get destroyed. The guy knew nothing. He was just doing it for the following. And now, he's become way less relevant. So also that's why, all the Muslims don't care to shit on him now. But he wants to back out of it because Andrew Tate has never been Muslim. He's the most unreligious, unserious person. He's actually an evil guy. And it's how can you can't even pretend his whole life is haram. And now he realizes he wants to go back to being a normal person. And good luck with that. I
feel sorry for anyone that believed him. It was just he was so obvious. He was just talking shit.
And every time he wants to get these guys back on side because they're so dumb, they're so low IQ that all he has to do is say something he goes on an anti-Israel rant.
Yeah.
They're they can't help themselves and they fall back in love with him. Yeah. You guys are retarded. Your problem, not ours. He's yours. You took him, you keep him. David Smith says, have you thought about the Irish connection in the last 5 years? We've taken a lot of Muslim Brotherhood members. Take a look at the mosque situation there. I'm not down. I saw Rebels doing a lot of that.
Ireland obviously is a mess.
Rebels been doing a lot of coverage there on it. Ezra's gone there a bunch. Peter Wilson says, if and when China invades Taiwan, do you think the left will actually care and do anything, or will they support China since they love communism? They will not do anything. It's funny because in 2019, when China was 2018, 2019, in the democracy protests that I was covering at the time, going to Hong Kong, the left and the right were behind Hong Kong. The left and the right. Yeah. And it's funny because I bet you if that conflict happened today, the woke right would be on China's side.
Yep.
The woke right would jump on China's side, and the far left would also be on China's side.
Yep.
What a difference, what is that, 6-7 years makes.
Yeah.
What a difference.
It's true.
Because, if I had to put my money on it, if that played out exactly how it played out at the time, where China was encroaching on Hong Kong, Hong Kong's fallen. That's done. But if those democracy protests happened again, the far left and the far right would actually... Because back then, there was Antifa there. They were hating on me, but they were there as well. They were trying to convince Hong Kongers to turn on me. It wasn't working, whatever. They were not buying into that. They didn't give a shit. They were just fighting for their freedom. But today, that far left, that Antifa and the far right, the woke right, they would both actually not be there. And I remember, everyone was like, China, and bagging out China on the woke, what became the woke right later. But they would totally be on China's side.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Abby says, expunge. What's that in? She makes fun of something. I don't know. Abby,
says, yeah. Abby, we're not that smart. You would know by now. You've watched enough episodes.
Catherine says, well, the arrest didn't work, so apostate. Okay, I'm not out.
He'll get his own justice, I think. That's what Catherine's saying.
I got that.
He might have to watch his back for a while now.
All right, let's quickly get on to the next story.
Our culture is old and ancient, if not the oldest in the world. But the thing about culture and cultural practices is means it continues, which means it's also modern.
A significant native title claim is being launched in Victoria, covering most of Melbourne and its surrounding regions. The Wurundjeri Woi Wurrung people have filed the claim in the federal court. This claim covers thousands of square kilometres, including most of metropolitan Melbourne, which the Wurundjeri people know as Naarm, and seeks federal recognition of their traditional rights and continuous connection to the area. The area stretches from the Werribee River north to the Great Dividing Range and east to Mount Baw Baw. The Wurundjeri people are already recognised as traditional owners of a similar area under Victorian law. This new claim comes just a week after the Victorian Labor government passed an Australia First treaty with Indigenous Australians.
Shocked.
It's important to note that native title only applies to Crown land and does not affect private homes, businesses or infrastructure. These rights include decision-making power over the public use of land and waters, the protection of areas of cultural significance, and the right to be consulted over how those areas are used. If successful, this would be the 8th native title determination in Victoria and the 3rd covering a capital city, following claims in South Australia and Western Australia. So what is the goal? The Wurundjeri people are hoping to negotiate the transfer of management for some parks and conservation areas. This could include parts of the Dandenong Ranges and several state parks. Wurundjeri elder Di Kerr tells The Guardian the process is about ensuring...
Hold on, I just want to go back to who this Wurundjeri person is. That's her.
Is that blonde hair?
That is the
that
most
blonde hair?
That is the most Aboriginal person I've seen.
I am more Aboriginal than Diane Kerr.
And it's just so funny. She told The Guardian. Oh, no shit. She was talking to The Guardian. I wonder, because if she spoke to anyone with half a brain and looked at her and go, okay. Yes.
The process is about ensuring their connection to country is recognised in law, as it has always existed in truth. She says, we want to walk together. We want to have partnerships with governments and Parks Victoria so we can co-manage and look after that country. Wurundjeri elder Perry Wandin tells the...
By the way, the word that I was thinking of that I wanted to say before is when somebody has... when in the mainstream, because it was in reference to the mainstream media versus alternative media, in the mainstream media, there's remedy that you can go for via the different institutions, whether it's government bodies or even media bodies that govern these things. So the press, you have the press something where you can make complaints, or you have, in the UK you have Ofcom, whatever. Like there's all these different bodies, governing bodies, that at least you can make a complaint for some sort of remedy. With alternative media, there is no remedy for truth, for general truth in a story. So I'm talking about when somebody's produced a report that is just false. At least with mainstream media, there is supposed to be bodies there, and that's why they're forced into corrections. Even when they do the corrections in a shonky way, they're forced into it. And like you gave the example of the BBC. But the word that I was thinking of was remedy. Anyways, sorry for breaking up. It just came to me.
BBC, the claim is an intergenerational pursuit for recognition. Wurundjeri people have fought for decades for recognition and respect, and have been at the forefront of protecting culture and country in Melbourne and surrounds. We want the waterways and the land to be looked after. Mr. Wandin clarifies that native title is not taking over, but being able to control Crown land.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, it's I think most.
But no one's surprised.
How many
We're not
Wurundjeri people are there, and their claims? No offense, like they're going to be full shonky. And the funniest part to me, as you know, and obviously I'm coming up from my biased position. The funniest part to me, as somebody that has Israeli family, Israeli heritage, Jewish, the people that mock or dismiss the Jewish claim to Israel, the Israeli indigenous claim to that land, because it's a 3,000-year-old thing, are the ones that push hardest for these kind of title agreements, treaty agreements, because of 65,000 years. Like, it's just so laughable. These people have no connection. Like, the Aboriginal activists that you see today in Victoria, especially in suburbia Victoria, in the inner suburbs, most of them are they're so white, and yeah, fine, they reject their whiteness that's so obvious, and they just embrace the black in them, whatever black heritage they have. But it's just laughable. They're clearly more white than they are black.
Yeah.
So you should get
when they set up this whole council or legislative whatever body that they're setting up, everyone was saying that these are the things that are going to happen, and straight away, it didn't even take a week since it was established for it to be, you know, we're going to take the whole of the area of Melbourne under our control now, right? We want all. And
don't worry. Your private land is fine. We're not touching that.
Private land is fine. It doesn't include private land, right? Whatever, right? It's just BS. It is at the end of the day wealth distribution. It's taking money from taxpayers. It's taking money from all of us, distributing it to these groups, right? Untold amounts. They're going to have control over the parks and waterways. Okay, for now, let's just say it's just that. What are we seeing in other parts of the country? We're seeing restricted control. Like we go to the Dandenongs all the time, Dandenong Ranges.
There was
what happens all of a sudden, some rock or some tree becomes sacred, and you can't go into that area anymore. You know, you can't climb Uluru or Ayers Rock anymore because it's sacred or something like this. Like, it's just like this whole thing that we still live in this country where everyone's kind of like we're meant to be all together and there's no division, and you know the white supremacists are really bad, but then we have this kind of underlying element of indigenous supremacy, and you know, and they talk about it as restorative justice and recognition of history. But why? What's wrong with the way that the control of the waterways now, or the parks, right? Why can't they work hand in hand with the rest of us who are their fellow Australians, right? There's always this need to separate Australians, even by these groups. So that we have these two extremes, and I know people push back against me saying that it's the same thing, but essentially it is. It is a form of racial supremacy. It is a form of indigenous group supremacy. And like you said, if this was the complaint that they make against Israel, for instance, and the Jews in their homeland. So it's all over the shop, Avi, and I don't support it whatsoever. I think it's nonsense, and I think it's going to end up costing us as Victorians billions and billions of dollars. And yes, it doesn't impact our private homes and land at the moment.
Not now, yeah.
But I'll tell you, this is the first steps to this.
Slippery slope. It always is like that.
Slope.
And yeah, they always say these things to make you feel safe and secure. And you know what? It's going to create extra red tapes on a million different other things. We have enough bureaucracy. You're going to have another one with another group that it has less indigenous bloody blood than me, and I got zero. So like it's a joke. It's laughing at us. It's mocking us. It's over nothing. It's stupid. And it's only going to hurt us and cost us. That's it.
Definitely.
All right, last story of the night before we end. And
Tell
we
us
touched
about
on
what
it.
was in this leaked memo.
Roz, it didn't just cover the controversial edit of the Trump speech on January 6th. It also covered a range of other issues. It was written as a sort of despairing sort of complaint to the board by this advisor who essentially was saying, look, It's not just that there are a range of complaints and problems with what's been going on at the BBC, but my concern is that they are not being addressed and they're not even being taken seriously. So what he was really trying to go through was to document a range of issues which he thought were of considerable concern to the organisation. This is after he had resigned his position as an expert advisor, and was basically saying it was up to the board now to do something about it.
And what's been the BBC's response to this?
The response to the leaking of this letter has been that they sort of sat still for a few days, and then we've seen both the Director General or Chief Executive of the BBC and the head of the news division both resign. Now, this is a pretty staggering outcome. Certainly on first look, you'd say, well, you'd expect maybe the news director to go, but the fact that the Director General has gone, I think, reflects the fact that beyond the controversy surrounding President Trump, that there is this sort of range and history of issues that have entrapped the BBC, and where there have been issues where there have been found to be mistakes, and there's this question of whether they've been dealt with sufficiently that has got them into all sorts of trouble, which the Director General, Tim Davey, felt that he had to take the fall for.
A couple things. Firstly, it was on the Panorama show.
Can I just comment, Avi, before you go into that?
Go.
It's just funny watching Laura Tingle or whatever, the ABC. They just sound so uncomfortable because
it's them.
It's
They're
like
the same.
It's literally them. It's them. It just sounds so awkward listening to them because literally any Australian listening to that will know that is exactly the kind of crap that the ABC has done and keeps doing on multiple news stories. You can go.
Yeah, and Panodrama, specifically that show, is the same show that remember, and people should go and watch it. Panodrama was. It's Panorama, and Tommy Robinson did the expose called Panodrama, which was because they tried to stitch him up in the most corrupt way with zero integrity. You know, this is supposed to be the flagship program of the BBC, the top news current affairs program with the highest kind of standard, and he just exposed, what was his name? I forgot his name, the fat guy. He moved to Ukraine after that and was like doing weird YouTube videos. But it was like, and so this is not the first time they've been caught out embarrassingly, but this time it was Trump, and this time heads rolled. But I think
it was an internal document. That was the main thing.
That got exposed,
it wasn't randoms that were saying this. The Telegraph showed the internal document from within the BBC talking about the issues that they were having, and they ignored their own internal investigation showing the bias that they obviously had, which is the problem.
Yeah.
And I mean, we know that the media lied about Trump's.
And I did some FOIs coming, so hopefully mine are as interesting as that here in ABC. I'm waiting for those in a few weeks. But I think that it's I think the ABC. Look, I think it's time. There is zero, and we've hashed this out many times before, but why are we paying for this? Why is there a BBC license in the UK? Why in Australia are we as a taxpayer funding this nonsense, this biased nonsense, which, it's clear in their newsrooms, there is no balance of political view. It is very skewed, and they will intentionally unethically edit stuff to sway the viewer into believing their point of view. And so I think one of them has crashed. Your one has.
What's crashed?
Your hold on.
The chat?
No, your Facebook one. Hold on, I've lost my.
That's okay. Let it crash.
Hold on, I've lost my.
It's all falling apart. I do agree to just on the point about the defunding the ABC to an extent. I think there is a case to be made that yes, we need to ensure that there's Australian content being provided to the public in some way, but I think that can be done in other creative ways via grants to open up that market to other people that are making that content, for instance. And change things, because we have seen this ongoing left-wing bias from the ABC, we see their presenters and we see their journalists taking part in this kind of culture war in a way that you don't expect from a public broadcaster, because they are ultimately being paid to represent the views of all Australians in some capacity. But I think in many times the ABC have been found wanting when it comes to giving a broad spectrum of different opinions on certain news, and even just reporting basic news. We've seen the omissions of information as the way that they've managed to spread propaganda and fake news in Australia. So I think that overall their service to the public has not met the expectations of Australians, and we can find better ways to ensure that Australian content is made. And the ABC should really be made into just a emergency broadcast service where we get weather information, maybe updates during national emergencies.
I wouldn't trust the ABC with the weather.
No, well, weather reports, emergency broadcasts during where people need to turn.
If the ABC tells me that the sky's blue outside, I'm going to go check. All right, let's read these last super chats. Let's read these super chats and end for tonight. We got Jesse says another common thing between the woke right is that they are all pro-Putin and pro-Russia and support the invasion of Ukraine. Why is that exactly? And but we did kind of say this, like this whole thing started during COVID, and then it went to things like the Russia-Ukraine, and then it was, it did pivot along that. And that's why I was saying, like, the natural position today, if we landed at Hong Kong and China, they would take China's side. Yeah. And I agree with you. Like, it was crazy to watch. Like, in the beginning, like, because I'm super critical of the Ukrainian government. But then I saw this crazy shift from, criticizing the Ukrainian government to fully becoming pro-Putin. And they're dishonest about it, and they always have been. Like all these like woke right people that were simping for Putin, like Tucker. They won't say it, but they, like anyone who is watching what they're doing, it is so obvious that they're simping for Putin. But the example is like when you spend every show, the whole show, criticizing only Ukraine for all the same things that you can apply to Russia on a much grander scale most of the time, then that is a form of simping for Russia. You're saying all you're doing is spewing pro-Russia talking points, anti-Ukraine talking points. So you don't have to sit there and say, I love Putin. But if all you're doing is demonizing Ukraine, and that's what they did, and that's what they're doing, So why is it exactly? Look, there's a bunch of theories, but I don't know.
I get what you're saying. I don't disagree with the criticisms that we make, where there is a tendency in the Western media to portray Russia as this evil entity all the time, because what that's born out of is the Russia collusion hoax, which was all made up anyway. But during that time,
not only it is also historically
historical as well. I know that, but I'm just saying
Russia is the communist enemy.
But Russia is Russia, right? Look, Russia, whatever. But there is a tendency for there to be a beat up when it comes to Russia, like when it suits the left, let's say, with the Russia.
I think the media I think the media goes the other way, right? So. And this is kind of why I jumped on board in the beginning in criticizing Ukraine so much in the beginning, because it was like the media was refusing to recognize any context of anything, and then on top of that, and was refusing to recognize Biden's role in all of it. The Biden administration was refusing to recognize that there are even Nazi elements within the Ukrainian military, even though the Azov battalion was like pro-Nazi. Now, again, on the other side of it, Russia was saying like they were all Nazis and we're denazifying it all, when that's also totally not true.
Yeah.
But I think the media, by the mainstream media in the West, taking these like positions without any nuance, without at all, like it's not even like Israel Palestine. Like, they full on would not give any view of Russia's perspective of any of it, even when it's like wrong or saying like Russia believe it's that I think that pushed people more to it, and people came out of COVID just anti the mainstream media, anti the establishment. Anything the establishment says, we're going to go completely the opposite. And they just rejected, and I think it did come all out of COVID, that whole rejecting the
media narrative,
the media and the government's narrative. So like, and then people kind of self-radicalized, and like your less crazy ones just demonize Ukraine and will never say anything bad about Russia. And then your full crazy ones went like actual pro-Putin, which that's wild, but it's easier to deal with.
Yeah.
When they get full pro-Putin and you're like, well, what's the worst allegation you have to Zelensky? What's the worst allegation they have?
The worst allegation they have to Zelensky? That he's hoarding money from the West, doing coke.
Bro, and what's Putin doing? Putin I've heard people predict that he or estimate that he's like richer than like one of the richest people in the world from the amount of money he's stolen. Like, it's like everything you could say about Zelensky, even if it's true, is so much worse on Russia's side.
Yeah, well, a lot of people did end up falling off balconies in Russia at a certain point.
Yes, and they always do. Anyways,
always do.
I remember Kozak, he invited me to go to Russia with him. Abby King says, Avi had a brain fart, couldn't find the word for clearing your record in court.
That's what she meant. Expunge your conviction, whatever.
Expungement. No, that wasn't the word I was looking for. That's why I didn't understand what you're saying. The word that I was actually looking for, I remembered later. What was it?
Redress.
No, not redress. Anyways, I've forgotten the word again. Anyways, Abby, you can do another super chat and tell us what the word I remembered a few minutes later. That's why, like, when you look at people like Ben Shapiro and that, I just marvel at their, just their vocabulary at the top of their brain all the time. Like, I know what I want to say, but sometimes...
I get a little bit of a sense of that when I'm doing a podcast with you, because I just know that I'm just a little bit higher in my vocabulary than you, so I do get a bit of that feeling, personally in these moments. So I'm just letting the audience know as well.
Queenie says that white lady is definitely indigenous. Ingenious. Yes, she's not indigenous, I can guarantee you that. Thank you for the super chat. D-Max says Anzac Parade, Moomba Festival float, Regatta gone.
Anzac Parade, Moomba Festival. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we had those things more happen publicly, right?
Yeah.
Australia Day parades.
No, now it's all... No, now they're raising Palestinian flags. Don't worry about it. Adrian Cole says, do you think the majority of people that voted yes for The Voice are also pro-Hamas? Because I don't think those Islamists cared about The Voice. Yes, the majority of people who voted yes to The Voice, I think the vast majority of them they wouldn't define themselves as pro-Hamas. They'd be very anti-Israel.
Yeah, and sympathetic to these kind of ideas.
Yeah. Mind you, there were probably a bunch of woke Jews at the time that got on board with that.
Yeah.
I see someone on your comments going, Avi is comparing himself to Shapiro. Shapiro is actually pretty bright. Avi is dumb. Bro, I literally said I'm not.
That's what he's saying.
You're dumb. You're dummy. But I'm good. I'm good with it. Catherine says, ABC, Russia, all beeping crap. I think the ABC created that monster. Like, I think... when you can't actually report the story without just injecting your worldview. And ABC can't do that about any issue. That's why they shouldn't be publicly funded. That's why our tax dollars shouldn't go to that, because you are just helping them amplify their worldview. Anyways, Made in Australia says, thank you for the super chat, says hippo character spins. Oh, this is a arm that flung up in a chair. It's one of those emojis. Thanks mate. Well, it doesn't give us the emojis. It just like reads it out for us. And Paul Murray says, Laura calls outright lies mistakes. That's our ABC. Oh, that's a true.
Yeah, the mistaken edit where they make it look like he said something else. That was a mistake.
Yeah.
Yes.
They tend to have they tend to have a lot of those mistakes that always happen to demonize a person that they hate.
Yes.
They never have kind of one accidentally that makes Trump look good.
No, it's never happened.
Yeah. And last super chat is Noah says, would you consider Josh Burns a woke Jew? Josh Burns, is he a woke Jew? Look, I'm going to be completely honest. I don't actually follow his political commentary and views closely enough to know if I would call him all the way woke. His girlfriend is definitely woke, and she's like a pro-pally whatever. What's her name? That's Animals Justice in Victoria.
Something Purcell? Was it something Purcell?
Yeah,
Georgia.
Purcell. I just don't. I think he's probably just not that principled. Is he far left, full woke? Not really. I think he's a sellout. I don't know. Maybe he is. Maybe he is. I haven't heard it. He would probably be like all into that transgender stuff and that. So maybe he is. Anyway,
that's a prerequisite for being in Labour Party anyway. So
nowadays, yeah, you got to be a he/she. On that note, thank you for joining us tonight, guys. Before you leave, make sure to smash that like button. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed to whatever platform you're watching on now. Otherwise, until Thursday, take care, stay safe, and God bless. And again, I'd like to just pay our respects to those who, on Remembrance Day, to remember those who did fight, bleed, and die for the freedoms that we get to enjoy, to be able to even have this podcast. I'm grateful
100%.
for every single one of them.
Yep, 100%. I concur. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.